Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones. I can't sing that because we'll get copyright strike. That fucking works. Did you think about Indiana Jones? We're going to go to jail now.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, Omar Zambon's straight in with £5 in the super chat. And I believe we've had our customary 10 from Andrew K. I saw something. I assumed that was the email I got about PayPal earlier. Which,
I will check the PayPal.
The PayPal. I look very washed out and blue on the camera. On the camera, Duncan sees I'm orange, which is closer to my natural hue. On YouTube, I'm sort of pale. I'm like a pale blue boy.
James Cameron.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm at the wrong end of the Kelvin scale today. Also noticed a frightening outcrop of freckles on one side. I've sort of got that phase of my life.
Noticed that I've started to get a few. Yeah, they liver spots when we get old. Is that what it is?
There's a Mr. Burns style face. I'm just at that point now. I suppose my scalp's been exposed to elements for long enough that it's going to start freckling up instead of being
callousing.
Oh, like a big leathery, like a turtle's knee. Oh,
actually, so.
Blessed be to the 71 in the chat. Welcome.
Nach der Val Verde Broadcasten und ja, Scheiße, Pupen.
Auf der Pupenscheiße, ja.
Oh, God. Sorry, everyone. I ought to preface tonight by saying that I am with cold. So I apologise if I am less than the sum of my parts.
Poor Casey, poor Coldy Casey. Wow. Feel for him. Happens. He's sick. I'm tempting fate massively. I was doing a COVID test tomorrow actually because I've got work at the airport again. But I just haven't had any cold or flu because I haven't had any human contact for a really long time. So
yeah, I think it's my daughter gave it to me because she got it off another baby in a mums and babies group. So I think that's what it is. But I guess if it progresses, I'll take we've got some lateral flow tests here, so I might.
Yeah, I went to the chemist and got some as well actually.
Try.
And I do, the one I have to do for the airport, you just shove up your nose, but the one you get from the chemist is the proper tonsil one.
I hate that. Hate
it's
it.
The first time I've done it.
Makes me gag.
Yes. To a degree, I'm sort of like, I don't know if I want to talk about this. Like it was properly horrible, fucking grim.
Vaguely sexual.
Yes, yeah. Well, it told me a lot about my inability to suck dick. So proves I'll never have a career in Hollywood.
Hey!
Satire.
I guess, but we knew that. Yeah. I'm enjoying a nice hot lemon and grated ginger with honey drink. So
yeah, I told you about my turbo lemsip before, haven't I? When I'm sick. The way to zhuzh up a lemsip.
You have, but remind the good people.
Well, there are two ways to have turbo lemsip. There's one that 30-year-old me did and doesn't do anymore, and then there's current turbo lemsip. The original.
Does one involve alcohol?
Yes, yeah. The award-winning combination of alcohol and paracetamol, which is quite often used as a suicide method, but also in turbo, you make a black tea. You add to your black tea a sachet of Lemsip or whatever your regional equivalent is. Then you add lemon juice, like fresh lemon juice, and then honey. And then for younger man's Lemsip, put in a little bit of limoncello or whiskey. But I've realised, I want to have kidneys, so I don't do that anymore. But turbo Lemsip gives you all the sugar and caffeine of a honey and lemon, and all the drugs of a Lemsip. It's really quite Excellent. Good, actually. I did find it rather effective. Though bless one Anne, who was an intern at one of the schools I worked at. I was at work sick, as was the working practices of that company, because it was one of those type of places. And I told her what I wanted, because she was in England making English people tea. She thought I wanted milk in it, so I had this kind of citrus infused milky Lemsip, and it was just like, no, that ain't it.
Deeply
not very nice, but bless her for going off and making me a drink. Look, Dan Lowell just happened to say, sounds disgusting, got to put milk in tea. You can't have milk with Lemsip, damn you mad bastard. That's like having milk with a Calippo.
Omar, we didn't read Omar's chat,
fuck.
But I have just read it and now I understand it because I've just checked the poll was Last Crusade for the win basically all day today. But he says, "Hello, comrades. It was me, Mr. Jackson, and Mr. Casey, the author of all your pain. I made a tie at the last minute. Ha ha ha. Ernst Stavro Blofeld." So yeah, it is technically a tie between this and
Raiders. Raiders auf
Raiders.
dem Lost Ark.
That's it. Yes, to give it its German title. So, what did you vote for, Omar? Which one did you vote for? That's the crucial thing. Which one was it? That
Dan
you...
Lars has already made the artwork. We won't be changing.
Yeah, I mean, we won't be changing it, but just out of curiosity. Which one was it? I could go in and vote actually now and
just put your thumb on the scale, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or can I? Oh no, because the poll closed, so no, I can't. But dealer's choice, I suppose. When we get, it's another tie. It's interesting that it's another tie.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Like, Temple of Doom is to me the Contrarians indie film. You know.
Right.
Okay. I've never got it. It's got like these really famous moments, but I find the act of watching it really quite boring.
Hang about. Omar says he voted for Temple.
Oh, well, there you go then.
So how would that have caused a tie?
Oh no, I think he's just pointing out it was a tie. He just observed.
Who says he did it? I don't know.
I made
Never
it
mind.
at the last minute. Oh, I see. Oh, I don't know. How strange. But yeah, I've got people booing me already about Temple of Doom. I mean, Temple of Doom's fine, but I just find it kind of boring. And whereas like Raiders and Last Crusade, I can watch any time. And I think you and I are both Last Crusade fans, right? Out of the two.
For me, it's kind of like 3-2. Sorry, 3-1-2.
Ivan's the same actually. Ivan's on with team 3-1-2 as well.
Team 3-2. And if there was a 4, it would certainly be last.
Yeah, well, that is it. I mean, you know, it's difficult when you put up a trilogy of films. When you ask people to vote between the only 3 films that exist in a series, much like the 3 film series Indiana Jones, in which there are only 3 films. The series, of course, ending with this one concluding very nicely and wrapping up all of the kind of fears and desires of the Indiana Jones character within this film, and no further ones were embarrassingly made. You're not giving your audience a lot of variety with your poll when you do that. Ask people to vote for all 3 films. I'm going to flog that fucking dead horse. That joke. People are mistakenly listing some kind of mythical 4th film. I don't know why that is.
I guess it's just assuming that if there was one.
Yes, and it presumably would be brilliant. I'm not saying in a theoretical construct that even-numbered Indiana Jones films without Nazis are shit. We would only know that if there was a 4th film, but luckily there isn't, and we shall never know. There are. I know. Like, I've always felt like Temple of Doom was like the contrarian's choice. I know, like it's Toby's fave. I think, and there's a few other people I know have it as their fave. I don't want to break the artifice of what we just spent the last 5 minutes doing, but there certainly are some people out there who consider that theoretical 4th film as their fave.
Yeah,
they would theoretically need a big fucking theoretical slap around their stupid theoretical fucking face.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I suppose it is kind of like Temple of Doom is the George Lazenby. You know, it's like, well, actually, it's my favourite one. It's like, is it? I mean, it's fine. Like, I don't mind. Like, Temple of Doom, don't get me wrong, is still a fine film. It's just compared to the other 2, it's just a bit saggy. It's a bit boring in the middle. And
it doesn't have it doesn't have that momentum, does it? It doesn't sort of charge forward,
no.
which ironically features the minecart thing, which is the most perfect metaphor for something having momentum and charging forward out of control. Brad Watson donates £1.
No, it doesn't.
Does he? Yes. Yeah, he just did a super chat.
How has that come? That's come through as a weird thing for me. It doesn't even look like a super chat. But Brad Watson's done a £1, £2, £3. Is that your ranking, Brad?
It must be.
I'm guessing.
I don't recall Brad having underscores in his username. That's what threw me. It's not,
okay.
Some kind of imposter Brad, you think?
It could be, but they're paying. So.
It doesn't matter that you.
So welcome, imposter Brad.
I don't mind bogus callers going into my elderly parents' home as long as they do a good job of deceiving them. If they wore moustaches and everything, it was perfect.
1, 2, 3. Fair enough. Well, if 3, I'm not sure though. I'm pretty sure I've had this conversation with Brad before, and that he really loves Last Crusade. So.
Well, Craig says, that's an odd take. Temple of Doom opens on a big set piece. It's less talky than the others and more cartoonish. Plus, the mindset piece is immediately followed by the bridge scene. I still feel like I'm waiting forever to get to those points because there's big parts and you sort of wait and wait and wait. I seem to remember there are a lot of sitting around and looking at stuff. I don't know. I just don't like it, Duncan.
There's a lot of that Taliman shit which goes on, and there's a lot of that ritual stuff, and it does. For me, it's the less distinctive one. It's the other two that are the main sort of that have the, as you say, the momentum and the. I don't. And again, it's not. It's one of those sort of like. It's not even as for me a bigger drop with Die Hard 2. Even it's like it's still great. I still love Temple of Doom. But if I'm to sit down and watch an Indiana Jones film, odds are I'm not going to put it on. I'm going to put on this, or I'm going to put on Raiders before I'll put that on. Is really how it. But if that's on, if Temple of Doom's on, I'll watch it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. It's far from the worst thing. Like, definitely, it's just within the island of all three Indiana Jones films. It's the lesser of those, but it's still great. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a fucking peak Spielberg movie. Like, no complaints there. Just, I suppose we're proving how spoiled we are, really, aren't we?
Last Crusade is more baggy. I really like it, but Temple is better. Yeah.
Bad.
I don't think we can be friends now, Brad.
Bad.
No.
Brad, we're blocking Brad's number.
Because isn't Temple is a prequel, isn't it?
Yes,
technically,
it's a prequel. It's
right,
set
so
before. I mean, why escapes me. I mean, fair play to you, and also it doesn't draw attention to that. You just have to notice the date at the beginning.
Right.
Fine. Like, why? I don't know. What am I missing that requires? I mean, all you're doing there is admitting that your plot is so far removed from the first one. It doesn't even matter if it takes place before or after. It's like, well, we realise this has no consequences and decided it's a prequel. Like, it's
probably something like they made it and then realised they never mentioned the war or Nazis or something and went,
when's it
then.
set? Oh, fuck. Yeah. I love it. That's great. That's good impression because it's just a man summed up by some grunts, but you immediately know who it is when you do that.
Well, my cold helps at the moment. I think
right.
Gives me the edge on that one. But yeah, it's my. I've realised my Harrison Ford really is the 6 Days, 7 Nights Harrison Ford because he does a lot of that in that. There's an awful lot of
yeah, it definitely seems to be kind of later era Harrison, doesn't it? I'm sure you can do an earlier one, but I always think of kind of a later era.
Yeah,
Harrison. I think you just did one without meaning to. There, you just like
yeah.
Allegedly, really stoned Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford. So there you go. Yes. First, I just want to say hi to everybody. Hi everyone, coming along. We haven't said the hellos yet, but welcome. This did. We had the private watch party last week. I did 4 streams last week, Duncan, all in.
Wow.
The private watch party last week ended up being in the Mouth of Madness.
4-stream machine.
Oh,
in the Mouth of Madness. Oh, yeah. Cool. I want to do that. I mean, I haven't.
There's a Blu-ray rip on YouTube which has been up for like 6 years. It's insane. So we were able to watch in the Mouth of Madness, which is lovely. And then I did say to everybody, hey, look, we're going to try and do something a bit more obvious next week. What do you think? And I can't remember for the life of me, but one of you said to us, oh, Indiana Jones. And then I was like, ooh, now that not only is that a good idea, but it's quite lazy because I could just go to Duncan and go like, here's a pre-packaged trio of films that we can vote on. So thank you, whoever that was. But Super Chat's coming in. Oh God, Super Chat's all over the place. Did you want to? We've got like three. I like it that they're all different colours as well. It makes me so happy.
I've got 2 at the moment. Oh no, 3. Yeah. Okay. Well, Sean Northridge sends €5 and says, "Last Crusade is my favourite of the 3. Have you ever noticed how visibly older and out of shape he looks in this movie compared to the first 2?"
Harrison Ford. Really?
I haven't. No. I can't say that I have.
I have nothing but sympathy for people looking haggard. It's where we all end up.
Yeah.
I'm going to go clap for that.
James Morgan says 9.99 this evening, gents. Hope you're both good. Do either of you have a favourite Harrison Ford film?
Star Wars, The Last Jedi. No, and he's not in that. Probably maybe The Fugitive, which we did an episode on. And Witness. Witness is a great movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there's quite a few. What would you say?
I'd probably say The Fugitive or this.
Yeah.
Or what's the I'm trying to think. There's so many. I mean, I have a real soft spot for 6 Days, 7 Nights. People seem to really hate that. Well, Petter hated it. He vehemently came out in the comments when I mentioned it before. Was like, no. So sorry,
Europe's
but
number
I
one
really
6 days 7 nights activist. He's really
yeah. If I'm not careful, he'll give me a right split diopter. Split me right in the diopter. Blessed. But no, yeah, there's so many like brilliant. Like it's because he was the highest paid actor in the 90s. Was he the highest paid actor or the highest grossing actor? I can't
it
remember
was
which
one
way
of the
around
other,
it was.
and it's one of those things that, because he's not kind of like Brad Pitt or Arnold Schwarzenegger, who are completely different things, because he's so less assuming than that, you wouldn't think it. But then you kind of look at what he was in, and it's like, oh shit, yeah, okay, he did a lot of huge stuff.
Because he was in his 50s then. I mean, it was that's really when he hit his stride as far as all that. That's when you really started getting Harrison Ford vehicles. Before that, he was always in films and a name, but it was like really when you got into the 90s with stuff like The Fugitive and everything, then it was like in film the Harrison Ford. That was when his name was on the marquee. So. Oh, well, I suppose Indiana Jones, obviously.
Yeah, sure, but that wasn't even written for him or anything. They wanted
No.
Tom Selleck and all sorts for that, so that was a
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I would say this, The Fugitive, 6 Days and 7 Nights. That's 3, but you didn't ask for that. Do you want to read Vote Saxon 07's one?
Yeah, Vote Saxon. If you follow Vote Saxon on social media, he shared a picture of his shed imploding this week, and it's really spectacular. But for him, a massive pain in the dick. But he sent me on WhatsApp. I was like, my shed imploded. I was just like, what the fuck? I saw it come up on Instagram. So if you want to see an imploding shed, do that on Vote Saxon's Instagram. The Grail Diary is one of my favourite movie props. So Steve does movie prop stuff on his channel, so he would know. And it is there's lots of cool movie books, aren't there? I think the Grail Diary is like, it's like the Evil Dead book and a few others that are just cool movie books.
For sure.
So yeah. So we've never talked about Indy on this channel at all.
No.
Not even I'm sure we've referenced it, but not really in any kind of head-on fashion that I recall.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, no, it's a obviously it's a fairly touchstone series. I mean, it's one that I never got into in because even though it is a series, it was never like, it wasn't like Star Wars or like a lot of other films that really kind of had that proper series that you could really call a series. Although it was I guess for a long time it kind of fell into the Star Wars thing in terms of there were 2 trilogies. Yeah, but I mean it's always been there as a kind of like definite yardstick, I suppose, in terms of that kind of action adventure thing. But it was a B movie idea, wasn't it? Originally, it was sort of
it's supposed to. It's patterned after, much like Star Wars. It's patterned after the kind of Saturday morning serials of the kind of 40s, 50s, and 60s. So this is a big part of the all these, we talked about this before. All the directors from the 80s were being nostalgic for the 50s in the way a lot of people now are nostalgic for the 80s. And yeah, it was the kind of Saturday morning serial, and it's King Solomon's Mines, and there was a big focus on adapting adventure, kind of adventurist adventure stories in the vein of that. Again, King Solomon and H. Rider Haggard and all that were all kind of on vogue, and your kind of Doc Samson type. So it's that really. Whereas Star Wars was more your sort of Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers-y thing. I mean, I did, because I put these for a really long time. Well, as a kid, because I watched all these as a kid and loved them. And it was something I think we would rent, or it'd be on it. I remember it being on at Christmas. Watched it with my nana, which carbon dates that because my nana died when I was quite young, so that means it probably was the first time it was on the BBC. And just like watching this one and just being like, oh my god, this is fucking amazing. Everything about this is the best thing I've seen. But mentally putting it next to Star Wars because of Harrison Ford and because of John Williams. And also, as a kid, I probably thought Steven Spielberg directed Star Wars. I would have thought, and I probably thought Steven Spielberg directed Superman because it had John Williams music in it and whatever. So,
right? Yeah.
Those kind of things. But yeah, no, for me, this was top tier, high pedestal filmmaking when I was like 9, because it kind of it's that feeling as well. It was that weird era of anything Lucas or Spielberg did would just automatically be given a U or a PG, even if someone had like their cock cut off in the first scene, or like someone got bummed by a bear. It'd be like, yeah, but John Williams did the music, and it's it's got a good family message. So you felt grown up by watching them. I think that's the thing with Templar Doom with the monkey brains and the heart being cut out and stuff. Like, you felt grown up because you watched them, even though they're kind of aimed at kids, but with that slightly rough edge to them. You know. So yeah, you know, I they've certainly got a special place in my heart, these movies.
Yeah, me too. No, definitely. I mean, it's funny because I sort of don't think of them as being as much a touchstone for me as a kid. I was more into Superman and all that stuff, but they were definitely there, and I definitely used to enjoy them. I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of appreciated them more as well. But I love this. I mean, I you know, as I say, I mean, it's not. I do like them all, but I love this one just for its sheer pacing and because it's, you know, Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. I mean,
It's awesome because they're like 12 years different, aren't they? They're famously, but you would never know. It's such a brilliant, it's such a brilliant pairing, and their chemistry is awesome. And old Sean is in full tilt charisma mode. Like they're so brilliantly matched. They're so brilliantly matched. It's a wonderful bit of casting, and that's the thing, because this was after Temple of Doom. They were worried that they'd kind of wandered off from what they were trying to do. So, you know, people often say, well, this is a bit of a rehash of Raiders, and that is because they deliberately brought back Raiders-y stuff. So John Rhys Davies is back, and Denham Elliott is back, and a few other here's and there's. But I just like how it's paced, and it's fun, and it's got all these real fucking spectacle in this movie as well, like with airships and invisible bridges, and, you know, melting people and ancient knights, and horse chases and tank chases and biplanes. It's just all this fun, good stuff in it. So, you know, it just works. I've always got time for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. But yeah, I mean, I think Raiders has a similar thing, but it just has a slightly slower pace, I think. But it's fine. You know, it's good. It is good.
Raiders has a real rough edge. I went to a screening of Raiders at Somerset House a few years ago. Quite a few years ago, probably for at least 10 years ago. I just realised, but never mind that. It was the first time I've seen it projected, and it's one of those films that has, much like RoboCop and a few others, it uses a certain type of film stock, so it just looks grainier. But then, but all the kind of blood and gutsy stuff in it is really hardcore. It's like people getting shot in the head and blood pissing out, and the, you know, Bomber Harris getting sliced up. It's really quite nasty. It's got a real fucking edge to it, that movie.
Well, and people melt at the end as well, of course.
Famously, yes, indeed. And it's also insinuated that Indiana Jones fucked a child, which is just more or less in the dialogue. The ages don't add up between him and Karen Allen. He's supposed to have seduced her when she was 14 or something.
Right.
And it's just like, watching this as a grown-up is weird, but okay.
Yeah, well, he's a professor as well, so
I didn't even think of that. Fucking Jesus Christ, it would be me to buggery these days. Shall we crack on? 108 people in. Ready for some sweet injections.
Let me just, yes, we shall. I'm just going to read from the PayPal, because we have a few PayPals.
We have a super chat as well when you're done there.
Oh, okay, very good. So Andrew Caput sent us £10 as he's wont to do, and thank you, Andrew. That's very gratefully received. Christopher Tregena sent us, well, I believe he sent us £5, but we were docked a 45p fee because I think you sent it as a paying for a good or service, and now I have your address that I won't read out on air.
Which you'll be forwarding to me.
It says, evening, gentlemen. In exchange for tonight's entertainment, please accept this legal tender equivalent to approximately 1 Terry's chocolate orange with perished wrapping and a round of ladyboys to keep us laughing. Very good, thank you.
Fantastic.
Annalise Moskland sent us 10 pence. Thank you very much. She says, evening, guys. Sorry we're late, but looking forward to a break from presentations and deadlines.
Yikes.
Me too. Favour to ask, can you please tell Michael to take a damn break? He's been working his ass off, and he'll listen to you. Lol. Thanks. Yes. Well, Michael, stop working, please. I have to be told that on the reg at the moment, and so do you. So stop it.
I don't have
Put
a
it
partner or
down.
spouse to tell me that, but luckily I'm veteranly lazy. So...
Yeah.
No, that's not true. I haven't to my wife.
So the super chat then.
Yes, Weekend Exchange gives £5 English. Do you remember the teaser for this? It was basically a BTS reel, but worked so well at selling the film. No, that's really odd, particularly for the time.
Oh, no.
How strange. That might be worth looking up afterwards. Yeah, how weird. Yeah, I do miss that era of kind of, like you'd be watching. I remember watching like a RoboCop 2 BTS on ITV on a Saturday afternoon, and you would just get those, and then they'd end up kind of on the front of a videotape when it came out. But it's kind of like in the stunning sequel, RoboCop 2, and then whatever.
Of course, the Pierce Brosnan one with was it Robin Hood?
That's
astounding.
Sublime. So much partridge in that. It's unreal.
Oh
Robin
my god,
Hood.
yeah.
Who is Nottingham Forest? Robin Hood.
Robin of Oxley, and it's just like, what are you talking about? Cows were bigger and smaller in the day. Cows, yes. And it's just like, what he doesn't have that old. But I'm giving it far too much dignity, really, because it's just so weird and like, what? Why did you say yes to this? And it's like, it's not even like
substitute teacher vibes, isn't it?
He really does, and it's like he looks kind of desperate, and it's like, but about a year or two later, you were James Bond. I don't understand it. It's like you can't have been in the doldrums that much. It's kind of like, hello, I'm Pierce Brosnan. You've never heard of me. Like, it's like, really?
Nothing to do with this movie. It's me, Remington Steele. So anyway.
Yeah, heard of that? No, didn't think so. Did something about a train? No, it's just like, okay.
These are things that weren't popular in this country. Yeah. It's yes. So odd. And he's got his round glasses and his leather jacket, and he's walking about like a camera crew. It's like he was just walking about doing that, just talking to himself, and the camera crew was there and just went, "Oh, hold on, is that Remington Steele?"
It does look like he's doing a sort of presentation to 5-year-olds in a school, and you know what I mean. Like he's like, yes, and I don't know, and it's all like Robin of Locksley.
Oh yeah, he's quite excited.
And it's all like, what are you doing?
The history of it, isn't he? He's trying to give it this kind of Shakespearean gravitas. Like,
yeah, no. It really doesn't warrant. It's like, mate, it's a Kevin Costner with a mullet, like putting moves on what's her face. Oh, it's not happening. My dad sent us £10 as well. Says, hi guys. Hey Dad, thank you.
Well, let's. So this is on Now TV, but I suspect many of you probably just own it. I would have thought.
Yeah.
So are you queued up? Are you ready to go?
I'm just getting queued up. But we had to do this thing where we put a passcode in, and now I have to do it before every sodding thing.
Oh, weird. Okay.
It is.
Well, while Duncan does that, I have seen that it's rentable on YouTube. I'd imagine it's rentable on Amazon as well, if you want to throw a few shekels at it. But great movie. I've just got into Pierce. I've got big Pierce energy now.
Well, when they do the remake, Pierce Brosnan should play Indy's dad, obviously, and I could play Indiana Jones.
I'm quite excited for that rubbish heist film with Pierce in it. That's definitely rubbish. It's directed by
that was
Rennie
really
Harlin.
weird.
That's directed by Rennie Harlin, dude. That movie.
It was weird though, because it was like it started off really looking really low rent, and then by the end of it, it's like there's stunts and stuff in it that look massively expensive, and you go, huh? And it's just,
it was a weird trailer. The start of it looks shit, like Money Train, and then the end looks like Fast and Furious 10 or whatever. And it's like, fuck. Yeah. Did they? Someone? I don't know. It's like a kangaroo fucking a Lamborghini in space or whatever. It's like, real kangaroo.
Well, someone wrote in the comments underneath, didn't they? Like, someone saying, I want to go see Fast and Furious 9 or whatever. Your mum. We have Fast and Furious at home. And then it's like Fast and Furious at home. It's just like, that's what
yeah, that was savage. There's some savage meaning of that. I think someone else called it the Wish.com Fast and Furious. Well, fuck Fast and Furious. There's a Pierce in it. Like, fuck that. And even if this fails, they should just put Pierce in Fast and Furious, because Fast and Furious always, they chucked in Kurt Russell and stuff. Give us some Pierce, Dominic Toretto,
yeah. Yeah, why not? It's got Kurt Russell, it's got Statham, it's got
Statham.
It's got The Rock. Come on.
Idris Elba is Brixton in the only one I've seen.
Yes, it's just Brixton.
What? What? Neatly done. I am not the guy.
All right, we got it.
Right.
That is a line. Anyway, let's do it. Right, I'm ready to go. Yes.
I'm having too much fun. I don't want to go. All right. Can you please count in the method of your choosing? I'm going to let you do this.
Okay. Yes, all right. Here we go. Indiana, pay attention. We're going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Play.
Beautiful.
Play. Right. That's good.
So this has a powerful intro, doesn't it? It does the, you know, I think someone suggested in the chat earlier that like, you know, perhaps doing a successful prequel gave them, and the Indiana Jones Junior TV show thing probably gave them the gumption to make the Star Wars ones. Perhaps was what somebody suggested in the chat, which I suppose could be. I mean, you know, it's the same creative team, could be the case. People really like the Indy TV show, by the way.
What's that? There's a TV show?
Yeah, Young Indiana Jones. You never saw that?
Yeah, I thought you said, but you said there's a. Oh, I thought you said there's a new TV.
Oh no,
show.
No, and let's hope there never is.
Yeah,
no, I watched a bunch of that. Like, it just felt like there was so much of it, and Harrison Ford did a couple of cameos in it, I think, as old Indy. But yeah, people really liked that show. Which
does it cut to a half and it just camera pulls back and he sat there in a chair and he closes a book. And then that was.
I think it yeah. Basically, I think it is him going like, I remember stuff or whatever. I can't do what I do. It's a zombie. Like I don't even know what that was.
Chewie, we're home.
I don't have that. I don't have a voice that has gravity, which means I can't exploit it to do a grumbly Harrison Ford thing.
That's not how the Force works.
See that stuff in.
That sounded more like Kiefer Sutherland.
That was good. There's the stuff in the Force Awakens that's good. Is when Han Solo's being funny, and then you know. You can see the relief in Harrison Ford's face when Han Solo dies. He's like, yeah, I never have to do this again.
Thank the good Lord, I'm dead. Yeah, so of course the late River Phoenix, playing young Indiana Jones.
He does a great job here as well, and this because this has the how he got his hat, how he got his scar thing. But it's kind of done in a sort of tongue-in-cheek way. And do you know what? It occupies, a 5-10 minute scene? It's not 3 films.
It's not a whole film. Yeah, exactly. So, it's not and it's not like we get like some balmy Hans Zimmer portentous score drop right on top of it. It's just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, I sorry.
No, go on. I'm just...
I was just gonna say about it's sad about River Phoenix and that because like by all accounts I think was it a drug overdose that he had outside a club.
I don't know exactly what he'd been taking and stuff, but you know, it's not. The fact is, probably all of his peers were all doing the same drugs and they lived. You know what I mean? It's not
that. Well, that's because obviously Joaquin Phoenix is his brother and has told that story before that basically he wasn't a druggie or anything, but he just, fell in with the wrong crowd, tried it, and just got really unlucky, I think. But I think the really sad thing was didn't he collapse outside the club and no one really helped him?
I think this is something because I think that the people who were with him have been accused of, not helping him sufficiently, stuff like that.
Right.
I love the fake out with the fake indie guy here.
Well, it's the guy who he sort of modelled himself on, right? Because he found an explorer and he's like, that guy is cool. Because that's what his
dub.
like,
I love
younger.
The young Indy dubbed over.
I like this hat.
This horribly decrepit, stoned teenager.
3 years, I'll be old enough to drink.
And also, he's like a venture scout or a boy scout. Okay, Dan Lars knows.
Yeah.
Outside the Viper Room, the club that Johnny Depp owned.
Oh.
Yikes.
Yeah.
He's got a fat mate. I forgot about his fat mate.
Friend to women, Johnny Depp owned a club. No, I don't. Allegedly.
Let's never speak of this again.
Yeah. And they never did.
See, because of me, they have a sign.
No, why? We should make light of.
No, the tragic death of a young man. But no. We've passed the statute of limitations, so it's officially okay to make ghoulish remarks about someone's death. This stuff I kind of I can see why they ended up doing their TV show and stuff, and I did like the TV show, but again I just remember being so fucking much of it, and it was put on British TV I think on Sunday afternoons, but it relied on you being at home on a Sunday afternoon when you were a kid, and stuff.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it used to sort of jump around the schedule and stuff like that, and later on you just find a random episode used as filler on a weekend and stuff like that, or on a I think it was on school holidays and things like that. Was another one.
Was it River Phoenix in that as well?
No, I think he'd already passed away by then. I can't remember the guy's name. His name was
River Phoenix.
His name was Flowing Water Firebird. Was his name? Mum, can we
Risen from the dead bird?
Mum, can we have River Phoenix? Mum, we've got River Phoenix at home. It's all in the best possible taste. See, this stuff is spectacular, man.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, it all is, man. All the action and everything in this, I think, is just top notch. It's like absolutely incredible.
Well, if I may talk about video games for a moment, with good reason. LucasArts had their own video game studio. Lucasfilm had their own video studio called Lucasfilm Games. It was then called LucasArts, who made loads of Star Wars games and stuff. But famously, they made a Last Crusade game using the Scum engine. I think which is the same engine as Monkey Island. It was point and click, which is a really fabulously good point and click game, which was just as good as say Monkey Island, just as funny. And then they had another one called Indiana Jones and the Quest for Atlantis, which was, you know, an original indie story without a movie or a book that it was based on, which is a really fantastically good point and click game. Because I think a lot of other indie games have been, you know, action games, which makes sense. You know, run around, crack the whip, but you know, graphic adventure where you point and click and you can't die and you have to find the key and put the key inside the lock and go through the door and pick up the amulet and blah blah blah. It was great. They were both great games. When he's saying that, because the intro to the Last Crusade game, the credits rolled over this circus train like going along, I think.
Right.
And it'd be weird.
He just did the thing that everyone does when they, in a film, when they have a fake snake,
right?
Which is go, oh, a snake, and it's like
you're shaking the snake. You're shaking the snake. I love this. The rhino horn coming through there.
Yeah.
That's what's great about these, because it is proper boys' own. It's a metaphor for his cock. They're great boys' own adventure stories, aren't they? And it's all.
Oh god, yeah.
You're at no point supposed to consider Indiana Jones. This is a very good example of a thing my dad would watch. You go like, oh, it's stupid because it's not realistic, and it's like, well, no, it's not meant to be. I fear for how my dad spent his childhood, probably reading fucking maths books, knowing him, which he still has his maths books actually. He was my dad. Lifelong literalist, my dad. So, you know,
he believes in the Church of Literalism.
Exactly.
The guy who's the fake Indiana Jones, or the proto Indiana Jones, I suppose, is he has a real sort of Hugh Fernley Whittingstalk look about him.
He really does. It's like if you look Fernley Whittingstalk took off his glasses in front of you, you'd be like, oh, he looks weirdly tough. That's the space.
Well, he sort of has a look of him that he could also present a sort of wildlife program. I think
exactly. It's like, it would definitely be like, you know, looking for geese in the South Downs and stuff like that.
Yeah, nothing to it, nothing Bear Grylls style, but
oh god, no! It'd be like talking about different types of moss in the Lake District. It would be
yeah, and nothing as sort of, you know, salubrious as David Attenborough.
There was another shake snaker there.
Yeah, they will. It's like they had this great idea. It's like, just shake it. No one will ever know.
It's movie magic, guys.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't give you instant epilepsy.
I quite like the idea. Like in they should have had a scene in the Phantom Menace where Anakin Skywalker meets a shopkeeper who's just dressed as Darth Vader. And hello, Anakin.
But he'd have the voice of David Attenborough for some reason.
Yes. And
hello, Anakin. but the thing is, like David Attenborough is so fatalistic these days. It's like all he seems to talk about is like, we're all going to die. Like, it's like, all right, Jesus Christ. He's like, the polar ice caps are melting. We're going to die. It's like, all right, gee, calm down, Grandpa.
Well, you're 100 days. What I really like about I do really enjoy the creeping fatalism of David Attenborough because he's like Britain's granddad.
Yeah.
It's like if your granddad like really got into death metal, but really slowly.
Yeah.
Just like really, it's like, well, the meerkat reproduces the majesty of nature, and then now it's like the meerkat reproduces pointlessly because we're all going to choke on carbon, and it's just like, oh, okay, Dave, well, we'll wind that in a little bit.
So, all right. Okay. Like even hijack the Prince of the Duke of Edinburgh's funerals and go on about it, and it was like, not the time, man. Like,
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go into bat for Annalise though, because she's like, he's an environmental scientist, he's not wrong, and it's like, yeah, I do agree. It's just funny because it's
about meerkats.
It's Britain's granddad, just sort of getting all bleak on you, and bless him, I don't mean this badly, but at the end of his life, like just getting really fucking bleak. And you know, why shouldn't he? Why should do what you like?
Yeah, indeed. We received 549 from Petter Danielson, who says, "Let's discuss 7 Days and 7 Nights when I come to the movie premiere over a beer. Bad back today, so I can't stay. Stephen Allen could fill in the details." Okay. To Richard, Zombie 2 soon. Wink, wink. I don't know what I mean.
I don't know what it means.
What movie premiere is he referring to? What?
Top to your bleed, baby. Top to your bleed.
Tap to your bleed, baby.
Tap to your bleed, baby. Yeah, that would be awesome, Petter. Zombie 2 is one of our private watch party viables, you see. Because actually, Annalise and Michael's film won, but they both had to rush off for an emergency. Oh, no, they didn't win. It was or did it? Basically, I had to take out the ballot because they had to go for an emergency, and it's a movie they've been trying to get on the watch party for ages. It's like, we can't watch the thing without them.
Yeah,
that feels hideously cruel as a thing to do.
This is a great set piece as well. Again, like we're doing a bit of sort of exposition, but we're doing it on a massive boat set with rain and storm.
And that time skip as well. It's a lovely, and it's complete opposite of what we just come from. It was all daytime and desert, and now it's nighttime and ocean.
Yeah.
Tumult. It's great.
Indeed.
It's so
good. Which shows where the character's at, right? It's all about showing what's changed, what hasn't changed. Really, actually, what they're saying there is the environment around him has changed, but he hasn't, I suppose. Which is not because it's just him looking up with the same hat and the same. He's still got the thing in his belt, and he's still acting the same way. Which is what we want from Indiana Jones, right? Is he is sort of as you say, it's the boy's own thing, so he kind of has to be. He's not childlike, but he's sort of got a boyish attitude to things, right? He takes risk, and he's
yeah, exactly. He's got that kind of adventurer sort of adrenaline thing, but he's an academic. Because he's kind of like, Professor Jones does have that Clark Kent quality, doesn't he? Because he's got like his specs and stuff and his suit, and you see him in his academic setting. So he kind of has that alter ego thing. Where it's like, well, I have to put my special adventuring hat on to go and do archaeology. I know a few archaeologists actually. I know a disproportionate amount of archaeologists, and weirdly as separate people, not through each other, for the most part. Cambridgeshire is a place. One of them I know is from the south of England, but Cambridgeshire in particular, you're just constantly tripping over. Well, it's just England, really, isn't it? But you're constantly tripping over ancient Roman stuff and whatever. So they're very busy. And whenever there's a development of a rural area, or sometimes other areas, they find an Anglo-Saxon grave, and the archaeologists have to come in and dig it all out carefully. Which means, all of them. If you meet an archaeologist, if you say, "Ha ha, do you fight Nazis? Ha ha, do you get chased by a boulder?" They'll politely laugh. But they've heard it before, and they've probably heard it from me. So perhaps save your breath. But
and they probably heard it in that exact same monotone delivery. Ha ha! Do you find Nazis? Ha ha! You'd be chased by a boat.
Where the person saying the joke's just given up.
Because they know it's futile.
Yes, the futility of it all.
It is interesting to sort of set this in the time frame they've set it, right? Because it's kind of what is this, like in the 40s, I guess, is it?
I think the first one's like pre-war, isn't it? Isn't it like 38 or something rather than? Oh no, because it's not. It must be the war. I can't remember exactly. I can't remember if it's during the war. This one is
Yeah, I
during
mean,
the war,
if it's whilst the war is brewing or something, but yeah, this one I think is during.
1939, says Stephen Allen. So,
Yeah.
because it feels more like there's a war kind of going on rather than just Nazis Naziing around. I did. I read something very interesting. Sorry, this is tangentially related. So Sean Connery, he was once. There's these spy films based on some books about the character was called James Bond. No, Goldfinger. The fella, your man who plays Goldfinger, the German guy. They dubbed him with an English actor, right? He was dubbed over for that movie.
He was, yeah.
So I didn't know that, and I stumbled upon that. I think when I was reading about this, or I was reading about that guy. So I thought, well, that's interesting. What's up with that? And what I found out about that actor, whose name I can't remember, I'm sure everybody knows.
Gert Frobe.
Right, Gert Frobe. He joined the Nazi Party in the 1920s when he was 16. And then he left the Nazi Party before the war started. But during the war, he was conscripted into like the Wehrmacht or something. So he was like a Nazi soldier. And, lots of rank and file Germans were in the Wehrmacht, but not everyone was a member of the Nazi Party before the war and stuff like that. And when that was discovered, like Israel refused to show his movies because he'd been a Nazi. But some survivors of the Holocaust came forward and said, actually, he saved our life from the other Nazis in uniform as a soldier. He
no way.
Lives, and so Israel reversed that, and it seems he had. Yeah, it's crazy. I was just like, I was here for the dubbing story. What the fuck is this? Like, Jesus Christ! I was just like,
well, it was by all accounts. Yeah, I mean, because people talked about him from Goldfinger as well and said he was a really nice person. Like, he seemed like a really lovely person, and it is one of those sort of like, obviously being a Nazi is a bad thing, but it's different. Like, how can I phrase this without sounding like I'm pro-Nazi? In a time where, A, there was conscription, I'm assuming, around that time, and B, it was like...
That's the difference. There's a difference between the party and the army.
Yeah.
There was, like, the issue is willingly joining the party. That's the problem. Versus being conscripted into the army. So that was the issue. But then clearly... I mean, he left the party before the war. And clearly had a change of heart. But yeah, he saved a Jewish family as a Wehrmacht soldier. So, and that kind of reversed his story and stuff. It's pretty nuts. It's an amazing kind of story. Yeah. So I was on the scout for kind of, and the story why they dubbed him wasn't that interesting. And that's kind of why I found something out crazy instead. This, of course, the film that makes brass rubbing cool. It's stone rubbing.
Does it though?
Yeah.
Does it though? That's what. If you go to the Round Church in Cambridge, which is, it's an interesting little place, but one of the top of their list of things for you to do is brass rubbing, and I think brass rubbing tends to put me off of quite a lot, to be honest. It's like not that comes up much where brass rubbing's ruined an evening. But
yeah.
Yeah, so also I kind of like the Holy Grail thing. I think works well because it's people just know what that means. You don't have to explain it. What I found, because crystal skulls are quite common as a thing, but that movie, the fictional fourth movie, does feel the need to explain that a bit.
Sure.
Yeah. They sort of tell you what it is, and
then it devolves into sort of like aliens from the fifth dimension or some shit, doesn't it? And it's all a bit
because the thing with that was kind of like, when it was happening, it was like, oh yeah, but this one is the 1950s and it's going to be about UFO panic and kind of communist fear because the Nazis are gone, and it's going to lean into that UFO thing, and it's like, is it? Because they didn't really. It just kind of, it turned out, in the end it turned out they was aliens, but it was like, it just didn't really, so much of that just doesn't hang together.
I know, it's like, do we really want to introduce sci-fi to India? I know it's like the Ark of the Covenant and things. There is a magical, mystical element to it, so fair dues. But it's almost like aliens are almost too real world, if that makes sense. Like it's almost too kind of sci-fi rather than mystical.
I think by making it a pan-dimensional thing, kind of makes it possibly mystical. I mean, I don't have a problem with them doing a sci-fi thing in principle, and I think that's the thing a lot of people said at the time. if it's done well, and it fucking wasn't. So I'm not going to go and die on that hill.
Yeah,
like
fair.
10 or 12 years later, or God, it was that, wasn't it? It was about 12 years ago or something.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, it was 2009, I think. It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And now he's going to do another one.
Yeah,
Mad old fucker. Like, what's he? And are they? Isn't the idea that they're sort of working in a kind of like Judge Dredd way, so that it's sort of like running concurrently with his age now? I mean, it must be because he is old.
Because that's kind of what they did before. My fucking mate.
So would it be set in the like 60s or 70s?
I suppose. Yeah. I don't know. It was talked about earlier in the chat. It was. Yeah, it's your man who directed the Wolverine movies is doing it. And there's
the Certificate gentleman.
CFR. Yeah, Sharto Copley is there no. Yeah, someone said his chat in the name earlier. I mean, I ironically view it as a poison chalice. I don't see why you would do it. I get it as a career move, actually, of course. If someone said to me, "Do you want $50 million directing the Jones 5?" I'd go, "No, absolutely not." Like,
here, you'll find me over here behind my principles.
Yes.
But no.
I think if people want to know what I think about Indiana Jones, they'll tune into Val Verde Broadcasting every Thursday. Thank you very much. Keep your multi-million-pound salary.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of agree with you on that. I don't think it to be the one not done by Spielberg, and with an aging Harrison Ford, and it's like, are they going to find a cipher for, because it was like the whole Shia LaBeouf is now the new Indiana. It's like, is he though? Because that's not. He's just some sort of twat on a motorbike with, who thinks Grease was cool or whatever. It's like,
Yeah, that was a misstep, wasn't it? I don't. Yeah, James Mangold, thank you. Right, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Mads Mikkelsen were on board. Oh yeah, I did just hear Mads Mikkelsen had come on board for that, but I think I purged it out of my brain because it was like, no, thank you. Not because of Mads Mikkelsen, because of Indy 5 news. Mads Mikkelsen's amazing. This was the fourth one of this was in the offing for so long. Do you remember? And it always seemed like a possibility. Because Frank Darabont, I think, wrote the first draft for the fourth one, and then it got rewritten. Because it's that. I think this had a ton of versions. This was called then Chris Columbus took a pass at this. Some other writers as well, and I think for a while it was going to be like Indiana Jones and the Monkey King or something. And I think because George Lucas is an ideas man, isn't he? And he's behind the stories of these with Spielberg, and they produce the stories into existence. There's not a kind of auteur thing. It's kind of they get the writers in to come and do it for them, and that seems to work very well for the most part for the even numbered ones with Nazis. The odd numbered one with Nazis in seems to work very well. So this had a bunch of, and I think the final draft was by hold on, Tom Stoppard wrote I think one of the later drafts to this to sort of punch up an existing script.
I see. If they were going to make, I think if you're going to recast and remake, do it. Keep it as a period piece. Keep all the things intact, because the trouble is, if you try and do a sort of modern day interpretation, he can't walk around with a fedora on. He wouldn't have a whip. He'd solve everything with an app, because it's like there would be no
Duncan,
mystical stuff.
Mate, I love you, but that sounded so middle-aged. It's
it's
Spotify.
Yeah, but he would.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I just find that.
Well, it would be National Treasure, wouldn't it? And it would be whatever Nicolas Cage's character hacks a GPS satellite or whatever. It's that kind of.
Yeah, you'd have to have a tech guy who comes along with him, and we'd play the whole thing of like, oh, he's old school, but he's got a tech guy with him, and it's like, it's just right. Yeah. They seem to have to do that with every kind of action thing now, whether it is a rehashing of an old franchise or a new thing. It's like, oh, you don't know how the internet works? No. Ooh. Okay. Tippity tap tap. Oh, let's just hack into the megabytes of the downloads, and it's like that's getting really tired now as well. But it's just like you can't make everything has to be tech orientated now because you have to connive a way in which simply jumping on your iPhone for 5 minutes doesn't solve the problem. In this it's because it's impressive because he has an encyclopedic knowledge. Nowadays you just Google it.
Look it up,
wouldn't he?
Look it up.
The staff of Ra is hang on. Staff of Ra. And it would tell him, and he'd just be like,
I don't know how to stuff a bra. No, Siri, stuff a bra. Would you like to stuff a bra? Searching for chicken fillets. Chicken fillets are available.
Could you enunciate more, please?
Oh, yeah. So,
Sean Northridge sent us €5 just as a super chat. Sorry, just quickly say I've seen production material from an animated Indiana Jones series that was in development with Bruce Timm before the Disney sale. Broke my heart. There you go.
So I'd be down for an animated show. I think you could do.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Good shout.
Those 2D, the Jenny Tarkovsky, the 2D Star Wars Clone Wars cartoons were really fucking great. Little micro episodes. They were just really funky, great. They were done in the vein of Samurai Jack, so just really punchy, very clear kind of little action thingies with the characters done well and stuff. And I think you could, I have less of a deal with people bring something back as animation. They normally have a good idea for it, but.
So is this is a sort of is this supposed to be all taking place during World War II then?
Well, yeah, isn't this somewhere that's occupied? No, where are they? Is it?
They're in Venice.
They're in
so
Venice. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'd have to look. Big Elsa Schneider, sexiest Indiana Jones.
Sexist Nazi.
Sexist Nazi, yeah. Such a sexy Nazi. Fucked him and his dad. That's a weird thing, isn't it? That's a weird thing this film tells you. It's like, oh, good.
That is, yeah.
I love being 12. Thanks for that, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Not
the Alison Dooley.
The film does make pains to point out that it wasn't at the same time.
Yeah. She's in. Can you tell me which Bond film she's in? Don't say it in the chat.
I will. Okay. Which Bond film is she in? Is it a? Will you help me out a little? Is it a Roger Moore one?
It is a Roger Moore film, yes.
Is it View to a Kill?
It is.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah,
well done.
There you
go. Well done. Excellent. Good job. Yeah.
She is.
She plays Jenny Flax.
Excellent. Flax.
Try making an innuendo out of that. It's a bit hard. Jelly Flex. I'm not sure if you flex your jelly. Jelly, of course, being a euphemism for your bottom.
Right. Yeah. It's not. If you one is not ready for this jelly, as Destiny's Child once sang, or Beyonce or something. I can't remember.
What is not ready?
So the Queen says it.
Oh, Philip! One. Oh, well, no, she wouldn't say that.
No, or she might have said it in a eulogy. I don't...
Yeah. One was indeed not ready for the jelly. That's what it says down in the Royal Vault.
Right, yeah. No, absolutely.
No, sorry, not to make light of death again for the umpteenth time.
We've done it so many times now.
I think we have, yeah. But yes.
Oh, yeah, cool. I don't know what made me think
Flex,
that.
yes, I did.
Because she's in, yeah, because Dolph Lundgren's in A View to a Kill with Grace Jones, right?
Very, very briefly, yeah.
Grace Jones is the main attraction there, really. Dolph's only there because of Grace Jones.
Yes,
people know from my thoroughly researched video that I did in 24 hours.
Indeed. I love the thing here of like he goes up the stairs and there's the big reveal. They're like X marks the spot, and it's just like, yeah, but can you not see that just by standing on it? Like you can still see that it's an X, right? Like it's not. You don't need to go up.
That?
Yeah. I love how he does the bang with the. And again, This is only a gag that really works because of camera placement. It doesn't really work if you're anyone else in the library.
No,
because it's that's coming over there and he's over there. So, but yeah.
This is a bit you had to. This is a good in the video game. You had to do this. You had to go being a kind of point and click. You had to go pick up the thing and then. But it was possible to choose the wrong stone. I think you had to look at the book and get the right stone. You couldn't just go in and start because I think if you did it, you got like arrested or something. Brad Watson again with the weird amounts of money. I'm not sure the symbolism of £5.7, but thank you, Brad. I sent in my treatment for Indiana Jones and the search for the McDonald's Big Tasty Burger. Kathy hasn't got back to me yet. I mean, what I really appreciate about Brad's choice of menu item is that the Big Tasty is a limited edition burger that comes around. It's not on the menu all year round. You know,
not?
No. I haven't had a McDonald's for about 3 months or 3 or 4 months now. On my Crusade for salad.
Speaking of limited editions, I can talk about it now. That they announced today, they put it out there that TGV from the Urban Gentry asked me to, or employed my services as an actor to do some voiceover for a promotional video for a watch brand called Squale, which is Italian for shark, and which was a great honor and a privilege, and I had great fun doing that, and that has just been launched today. So you can go check that out. It's a limited edition, 500 pieces watch called in collaboration with Dras Galeazzi, which is they are an Italian company who make diving equipment and stuff like that. So they've done a collaboration with Squale and made a really cool watch, which I'm going to be in receipt of at some point. They're sending me one, which is really cool.
Oh, nice.
So very, very awesome. But yes, so I can say it now because I haven't been able to really. I'll get a bloody watch, and I did some voiceover and got paid for it too, which is really wonderful. So thank you, TGV. And it's it's a very cool looking thing. I hadn't really seen it. I think he sent me some pictures a couple of days ago, but up until then I hadn't really seen it. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, sorry, that's nothing to do with Indiana Jones, but no. I just humble brag, or whatever. So
Films.
yeah, see, I love all this films and that.
This is great. This is one of again when I first watched it when I was little. This is one of my favourite bits. The whole thing with the catacombs and stuff, and just how kind of how kind of U-rated spooky it gets. I've always been into sort of abandoned buildings and stuff like that, and this is probably part of what caused that. Is of course he makes a torch from the bone and stuff, doesn't he? Pretty That's fucking good. Yeah. I have a personal investment in femurs these days, and I just don't think they should be abused like that.
I don't appreciate that, Harris.
Mine would make a better torch because it has a non-fibrous material at its core.
It was lightweight.
It's just lightweight, yeah. It won't oxidise.
Yeah, see, loads of rats is always a sort of U-rated horror trope, which is kind of like
yes,
right.
Yeah. It's snakes that's Indy's beef.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question actually from MC 17. Have you guys seen Spielberg's Adventures of Tintin? Because it reminds me a bit of Lost Crusade. I haven't seen it, but yeah, Tintin is so in the vein of Indy, or Indy's in the
I
vein
saw
of Tintin.
some of the film. I didn't get a chance to finish it. Is that what he means? The animated film?
Yeah, the animated film that Spielberg did.
Yeah. I saw some of it. It was on, and I can't remember. I had to turn it off. We had to go do something or something. I don't know. But yeah, I started watching it. It was good. It was actually really good. It had a real sense that he had wanted to kind of faithfully do justice to the comics and stuff.
Because I think Peter Jackson's going to do it for a while. Joe Cornish of Adam and Joe co-wrote that with Edgar Wright, which made it interesting to me. And I always liked Tintin actually. Tintin was again had because I used to get Tintin books out the library, but I used to like the cartoons as well because they had that kind of, again, it was sort of grown up for kids. Tintin in particular, because Tintin was very, very kind of globetrotting spy adventure. We have to get the microfilm, and he's got a pistol, and someone's been shot, and it was all very like that. I probably should watch the Spielberg version.
It's good, man. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought, what I saw of it, unless it suddenly got really awful.
Yeah. Captain Meets Adventures. Richards, any thought on the C pills and the E&S class range of cars? I think this is a reference.
What's that? Who says that?
Captain Meets Adventures. I think this is a reference to my car blindness.
Where does he say that?
He's tagged it's orange, as Americans would say.
I think what he means is the C pillars, but he's done a fuck up and not done the. No, he's done a typo at a crucial moment that could have been funny, but he ruined it. It's his thoughts on the C pillars on the E and S class range of cars, which he means Mercedes E class and S class, which ha 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 and everything. But did you mean the estate version of the E class or the saloon?
I think in a way, Captain Meets Adventures, you got a result in that Duncan got to correct me. So you got my confusion. That was intended. And then Duncan got to explain the pillars, the C pillars. Midnight Run.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, I know, but that was, mate. I forgot that as after it was discussed. I said C pillar. That's not a thing. I could barely accept it during the original discussion, let alone recall it in context. There's absolutely no way whatsoever.
C pillars, B pillars.
Right.
Oh, sorry, A pillars, C pillars, B pillars, C pillars. I don't know the alphabet. Anyway,
The alphabet. Floyd
It's
Dillon
very-
asks, have you guys seen Joe Cornish as the kid who would be king? I have. I watched it on a flight. I did. I watched it on the flight to America. Yeah, I really liked it.
I have.
Yeah, in your face, Joe Cornish, you cunt.
No,
You Hollywood cunt. No, I really liked it. Yeah, it was good. Good kind of kids movie and kind of a little bit subversive. I mean, that and Attack the Block I both really liked. It seems they offered Joe Cornish Die Hard 5 and one of the Star Trek films, which he turned down, which is like, you know, he's in a position, his pool of references, those are both things that would have been, someone offered those to say you or I would be like, oh my God, and he turned them down, and I think wisely. I think that's a really good move.
Well, yeah, if he'd read the script and not had a say in how it was going to go down, then I think that was.
I think those situations are very easy to be blinded by what you're being offered. It's like, oh my God, a Die Hard film.
Oh God, yeah.
A Star Trek film, and to do the grown up thing and not do it, I think is really good.
Die Hard, especially because even having seen the fourth one, if he knew anything about working with Bruce Willis, especially on a Die Hard film, I think he was probably wise.
That's a good shout, particularly in the middle of that career. You know what I mean? Because Attack the Block didn't do terribly well either.
Right.
It's a real
Okay.
shame.
Yeah.
But it's still got. I think people recognise the quality because I really like Attack the Block. It did review well as well.
Yeah.
Not many people watched it. It's a really well made and written film, and it totally gets all the action beats and stuff. I just listened to Adam Buxton's autobiography, and he, of course, talks about Joe Cornish a lot. And Joe Cornish is just fucking film obsessed since quite a young age. So that was interesting. Anyway, welcome to Richard's internal monologue. Some things I read. I tell you what. Here's my pretentious film thing at the moment. I got Seats and All Parts by Leslie Halliwell. Leslie Halliwell was the author of Halliwell's Film Guide, which was a kind of film criticism thing. And he used to manage the Kinema and one of the other cinemas in Cambridge in the 1960s. And I want to get to the chapters about that. I'm really interested to find out because I'm trying to do kind of Cambridge cinema history at the moment. Duncan is just tuned the fuck out, so I'm going to watch the film whilst he talks about this shit.
So I'm just going C pillars.
B pillars, C pillars. Anyway, that was my pretentious film thing of the moment. At the moment, I'm reading about growing up in Bolton, which sounds dreadful. In the 1930s, though, which was significantly better than it is now, I imagine. No, I don't. I've never been to Bolton. I'm sure it's lovely. I'm just having a go for no reason.
There is a funny thing. I think there's a large expectation that I should have some sort of crazy encyclopedic of knowledge of cinema, from 1930s Japan and all this kind of stuff, just because I work in it. It's like, no, I don't. I mean, I'm sorry. You can call me a Philistine if you want, but I know
that's for the tedious film academics like me to worry about, isn't it? That's
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I enjoy the allegory of cinema, and I enjoy, looking at all that stuff. But really, when it comes down to my job is not like to talk about Curacao or anything. It's just, say the lines and don't bump into the scenery.
Like I said to you when we worked on our film, you're, as far as I'm concerned, a meat puppet. You're a homunculus that should dance to the words I've written and have no opinions, no agency in this world. If I could have you controlled by a computer, I would, and then put you in a crate every night. It's how I motivated Duncan and Mike every take. I was just like, you're puppets to me. You mean nothing.
You are nothing.
I had a call from Mike in the week. It was really sweet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He just wanted to catch up, and there's some of the stuff I've showed him. He didn't like the dialogue take, and he asked if he could loop some of it, and I was like, yeah, cool.
Right.
But I've got a lot of animating to do before we get to that. But yeah, that was really sweet. That was quite nice from Mike.
Nice.
On my little holiday to Brighton this week, where I worked in someone else's house, it was great. It's like my normal life, but miles and miles away, and I had to get a 3-hour train home. Worth it. # worth it.
What does it take? So these guys are what the from some sort of order of whatever.
They're like secret society that protect the Grail.
Right. And he just killed a bunch of them.
Yeah, that'll teach him. But he lets Borat live.
It's nice.
Oh God. What do you think of this? I assume you've seen the Stephen Sommers Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser.
Oh, some well, bits of them.
That tone you just did is reassuring to me because I just don't get the fuss. I mean, I don't think they're bad at all. Just because I think they're very much in the vein of this. But I just don't get it. Like, I saw the first one in the cinema, actually. I think that's 1999. And I've seen the second one. I've never seen the third one. People fucking love them. And again, I don't hate them. I don't think they're bad in any way. And to a lot of people, there seems to be like a really big component of the childhood, and it's something that they really love. I've just never got it, like, at all. And I just wondered what your thoughts were. You seem, shockingly, you share an opinion with me, which is a thing that never happens.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against them. I think my general ambivalence towards the fantastical sort of the eye of Sauron that is my ambivalence towards that sort of stuff. To totally confuse imagery, kind of bleeds over into that type of thing where it's like, because doesn't the Rock turn into Anne Scorpion at one point and do a thing, and then it's all the kind of rub the thing, unlock the blah, and it's like, so is this, but I don't know what it is about the Mummy stuff where I just kind of tune out. I'm kind of like, quick, we have to run through
the meat on its bones. That wasn't. I wasn't doing a thing about Imhotep, but it just feels like. I mean, it's all fine, but it's a bit of a kind of diet Pepsi and then a salad. You know what I mean? I just don't find it.
Roland Emmerich sort of, just nutritionally bankrupt type.
That's an amazing caption of someone's career. Nutritionally bankrupt. I can't think of a better. I mean, that is great though. Like, I love it. I do love it.
It's about as edifying as a cheese roll and a packet of ready salted crisps
on a slow moving train out of Basildon. Like, it's
in the rain.
Yeah. Stephen Sommers, like, it's just like, because he did that first G.I. Joe movie as well, and he did the Van Helsing movie. Do you remember with
I went to the cinema and saw
with
old Cheekman and Jew Hickman.
My Ackman is normal sized.
Gene Yackman. Kate Beckinsale in it and stuff, and that guy who was around briefly in the early noughties with the funny nose, who was in and Mission Impossible and that, and then went away.
Well, what was he in either of those?
He was one of the bad guys in Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, 2. Okay, right.
Yeah, when he goes like, you never know who you might run into. I don't think he was South African, but he did a South African accent in it, and yeah.
Well, for example, so the Mummy, the G.I. Joe movie, and
that's a weird cut. Sorry, I just wanted to please hold that thought. That's a really weird cut when it's like they do the whole and they fall down as if they're making love, because that's what you do in a U.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to outside Venice, and then it cuts back in, and they're still they're still doing
the map thing.
Then it goes, and it's like,
well,
I don't get that cut.
Like Star Wars, where the guy gets his arm cut off, or people get shot in the head. I wouldn't be surprised if Spielberg and Lucas did a film with unsimulated penetration, it'd still get a U. It's just sort of like you just see.
I love the way you have to call it unsimulated.
It's funnier.
It's funnier. Mean penetration.
No, it's funnier when he says, "Imagine that thing." But you know how it pans down? It kind of, they go down, and then it kind of fades to the map. Instead, you have him thumbing his penis into her, and then it scans up and dissolves to the map. So you don't get the you just get it going in. Then it's kind of.
He does such a this is such sort of like Robin Williams by way of Harrison Ford.
This has come up in the comments this afternoon on the community post, and in the chat, in the preamble, in the chat throughout. People have been talking about. I mean, this is possibly the worst Scottish accent I've ever heard. Apart from like people who met me and then tried to do a version of my mum, like English people who aren't actors try to do Scottish accents. are nearly as bad as Harrison Ford in this. Yeah, it's dreadful, but he carries it off.
Like,
It's so silly.
Oh, as well. Yeah, it's so silly. But again, it's like you're in a world where someone would buy that. Anyway, you were saying something before I interrupted you earlier, and I really wanted you to get back to that. I just wanted to talk about what was on screen.
I wanted to use the phrase "thumbing it in" and unsimulated penetration. Yeah, Stephen Sommers. So, like, I think Van Helsing is a good example of a Stephen Sommers film because I think, in principle, that's a great idea. So it's kind of, they had all the Universal monsters and they want to pack them into one movie. And it's like Van Helsing doesn't just hunt Dracula, he hunts Frankenstein and the Wolfman. And it's like this kind of like anti-Avengers, big, like, broad, silly, steampunky, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, kind of slam dunk as a concept. Oh, Stephen Sommers made it, it's boring. And it's because it's just so like unimaginatively sort of covered and put together, and it's got no sort of guts to it. And I just feel like that for the Mummy. The Mummy's kind of like, yeah, kind of Indiana Jones light. And then the G.I. Joe film is kind of like, okay, look, making movies of toys isn't a guaranteed success. I think like Bumblebee was really wonderful, but the Bay Transformers films I cannot stand. You know, Lego Movie was great. It's like G.I. Joe, come on, there's like a ninja one and there's like a sailor one. It's like, you know, you've made this boring as well. Why do you keep doing this? How do you do this? Like, what is this kind of blanditude that you bring to things, Stephen Sommers? Which I just find really interesting, because if you look at those movies, again, they're really slam dunk premises, because you're kind of with the Mummy going like, okay, so this is the original Universal Mummy, Imhotep story, but we're doing it through the lens of Indiana Jones. It's like, yeah, that sounds like a big, broad, swashbuckling adventure. Oh no, it's boring.
Yeah.
Stephen Sommers made it. It's,
yeah,
you know. So
I can see. I mean, it's that sort of. It's Van Helsing especially, but I mean, because I remember it as just having that real like early noughties. Everyone's on wires, even though they're not supposed to be. You know, like any time someone had to do a jump and go raw, jump through the air, they just looked like they were floating along on wires. Like a lot of the like X-Men 3 has that and stuff, and it's just like people can be bothered to do it properly, and it's covered wrong. And yeah, you're right. I think it has that kind of it really is sort of those things seen through the lens of someone who likes unflavoured porridge and Weetabix with water and stuff. You know, it's just like,
oh my God, yeah.
You know, someone with who's lactose intolerant and has a wheat allergy made this. You know,
ambidextrous Liberal Democrat made it. Someone straight down the middle kind of guy. Stephen Sommers' next movie
loves a biryani on his birthday.
On his birthday.
Yeah. He has a biryani and like a Victoria sponge. That's the height of his extravagance when it comes to.
Yeah.
Just one though.
Tepid, really, really lightly coloured tea with like it's like half milk, half tea. Stephen Sommers' next movie, says Captain Meets Adventures, is called Beige. He preempted us a little bit there. He said that first. Yeah, exactly. Right. Just bowls of cold porridge. Good old Sean's like 45 minutes in.
Yeah. I love as well. They don't, you know, because he's in it earlier, but you don't see him in the early stuff. And then I like that rather than sort of trying to cast a young version of him, which at the time should have been Timothy Dalton.
Oh,
Roger Moore. But yeah, because this is 83, isn't it?
No, God, no. This is like 1989. This is way earlier.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Of course. Sorry, I'm thinking of Raiders was 83, I think, wasn't it? Anyway,
about right, I think.
Yeah, apologies. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, because this came out that big summer, wasn't it? This was why, ironically, License to Kill. Well, not ironically, but only just because I was talking about it. License to Kill didn't do so well because it was up against this, Batman, and whatever the other bit. What else came out in '89 that was big? I can't remember.
Oh God, this Batman. I don't know. Someone in the chat will know. I don't know. Yeah. Raiders was 81, says Gregor Craig. Templar Doom was 84. So there's a 5-year gap between this and Templar Doom.
Yeah.
But then there's a longer gap between this and them not making a fourth one. So.
Right. Yeah, sorry. I mean, my head is always like Indiana Jones started before I was born, which it did, but not this one, obviously.
Yeah. And
No.
yeah, well, no, this probably because my memory again of watching it on TV, it probably if it came out in 1989, it would have come out on BBC One in about 2006. No,
Yeah.
I guess probably would have been up 92 or something. It would have come around finally to that.
Yeah.
We called the dog Indiana. That's my favourite.
Yeah. Very good. She talks in her sleep.
He's just the sexiest. He's the sexiest old man. I love that shadow cast there on the reverse shot.
Oh, they do a lot of that. Yeah, no, it's so good. Yeah, because the Nazi guy here is he's in Tomorrow Never Dies. There you go, another Bond link. One of the ship captains at the end of that. So, yeah.
Bit of burst
So
that's not even that's me finding an excuse to do it.
Not really.
Not at all. Not in the least. Who's your man? Who's your fucking man? Julian Glover, who plays Donovan, who's basically your mainish bad guy. He's like the general of the AT-AT walkers on Hoth and Empire Strikes Back, and he's in a bunch of other stuff as well. I'm reasonably confident. So at the beginning of the movie, when you do see Henry Jones when he's younger, but you don't see his face and stuff, I think you just see his hand and he talks. I'm pretty sure he's played by Alex Hyde White, who was the guy who played Reed Richards in Corman's Fantastic Four. And I've been around his house. I interviewed him, and bless him, he's got like a recording studio in his house, and he gave me a pen, which I've still got with like his, with his phone number and stuff on it for like when you want to hire a voice actor.
Oh wow,
he's a really sweet guy.
Cool.
He's really nice. 'Cause he did a movie with Robert Englund. He did a version of Phantom of the Opera with Robert Englund.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, nice guy, really sweet. And because he made me a coffee, and I hate coffee because I'm English, I drank it. Case of
should have brought it back for me. I like coffee.
Carried it back to him. And not like in a.
My mate will love that.
Yeah.
As he pours it into it, as he takes his sock off.
No. I would for the remaining 3 weeks of the trip, I'd just carry it. And then onto the plane. Can I take this cup though? Because there's no other way for me to convey a liquid to another continent. Can I take...
No, you got to put it in a clear bag, and the only clear bag he had was a condom.
Firstly, a clear bag's quite good, and secondly, condom. You made it better. You knocked it out of the park, mate. A used condom. That's funnier,
Yeah.
Obviously.
It didn't start out as a latte.
Though it looks like it's curdled, it technically hasn't.
What sort of milk is this, man?
Salted caramel, mate.
Oh. Too far.
Too far, Tony. Too far. I think something broke in me when we so I've done it a few times. Like something broke in me when we made the film because I think it was the long days or something. But ever since then, I've just started snort laughing really badly, like really badly. And I think it's a thing as a baseline. Most people kind of, even when you're really laughing, you're really letting go, right? And I think as a baseline, you subconsciously stop yourself from doing it. But I think I was so tired that my brain decided to shut down non-essential systems, one of which was don't snort laugh, and never turned it back on again. And now I just started snorting.
Well, I started doing that as a sort of mocking thing when I think with my wife initially, if she said something that I didn't think was funny, I'd be like, or if I did something that wasn't funny, I'd do that as a sort of button on a laugh that wasn't really funny, and then it became so sort of habitual that I ended up doing it by accident. So I too have started snorting when I laugh, but sort of it started off as an ironic thing, and now it's become just I can't stop.
Weird.
Yeah,
That's so
really
fucking
bad.
Weird. Oh, I just found the day after the shooting, I was just kind of and I was like, oh, this is me now. And also, we've got to return to society soon. It's all well and good snorting in lockdown, but we have to go back to real life soon. I can't be snorting in front of people. It's madness. It's uncivilized.
It's John Reese Davies.
Yeah, Ellis is returning from Raiders. Alexei Sale's in this as well, isn't he? As where is he? He plays the guy that he's like a royalty or something, and he sells them a car, I think, or I just made that. Anyway, Alexei Sale's definitely in it. I love that fake out with the van behind the arch as well.
Yeah.
That really, really well.
Such an overly elaborate scheme to capture Denham Elliott, but he's another one. Like John Rhys Davies is another one. He did a talk at Oxford Union, and it just turned into like, "Don't smoke marijuana," and it was like, okay, does just always have to come with a public service announcement? Can we not just learn about acting?
Oh, dude,
it would be so nice.
He mostly talks kind of right-wing anti-immigration stuff. Is his bag. So they had him.
Oh right, well I guess I got
off lightly.
Then.
Yeah, don't smoke. I love the old man energy of turning up to do a talk at your uni and just going on to don't smoke weed. Sort of like if you have like someone come to talk to you about on your business studies course and they just end up going on about how you shouldn't eat fatty foods. It's just like, okay, this is great, but like I can get this advice elsewhere. It's not why you're here. Also, he was Professor Arturo in Sliders, which was just the bestest program, which I loved. It's on one of the low rent digital channels at the moment, and I still watch it when I can because Sliders was boss. And I'll fight anybody who says otherwise. See this stuff. I always love this. Because it's the rotating. This is the rotating fireplace thing coming up, right? Where they set fire to the thing. What I love about
and it's like just a room full of Nazis.
Yeah, they're all just like.
I guess we're doing Nazi stuff.
Here, Craig, give us me pen. It's your Nazi pen, you stupid bastard. Ah, sorry, Craig.
What are we gonna do today? Let's plan our day. Let's be organised. Like,
who's going to find a country to subjugate? Right.
We've got a book burning at 12.
12? On the fucking dot, mate. 12 o'clock. Come on.
Don't mess around if you're a hates late book burning.
all Nazis played by Sarah Millican. Book burning and cake.
I might be doping, but I hate Jews.
Oh God! This. Oh my fucking God! Anyway, what I was going to say.
Get a wheelbarrow full of money to go get some bread.
It's hyperinflation.
For the nation in the station with no affiliation
in all of creation
and association with. Anyway,
I don't know what Americans think is going on.
Why are they doing Australian accent?
Oh my God. Don't. Jesus Christ. It's that fucking, there's one guy who worked on Star Wars talking about Dave Prowse's original voice, and he's like, anyway, there's this guy on set with a Scottish accent. He's like, he's from the West, like he's like Bristol. He doesn't even sound like even remotely Scottish. Like, what the fuck are you on about? Anyway, this is, we always fall.
You take the road, I'm taking the road.
Here, at your wish, like.
Haggis or whatever.
Would you like some of my heroin, darling? We've got the
deep fried saucer. I got confused.
Lowest life expectancy in Western Europe. We have.
Skag.
Someone, that's a perfectly normal Scottish accent.
Like, was Train Spotting set in Somerset?
Yeah, it's set in Bristol, mate. It's all set in Bristol. Oh.
A cider festival, whatever.
I would like to. Carl Goddard has preempted like my favourite fact from this, which is that Michael Sheard, who plays Hitler, was Mr. Bronson in Grange Hill, and he's like one of the admirals in Star Wars, and he apparently played Hitler a bunch of times, and did speak German, but is not required to do so in this movie. But yeah, Mr. Bronson. From Grange Hill, so.
Ah, right, okay. I did a thing for Nazi megastructures, which is such an Alan Partridge site.
It really is.
How are they not shooting them right now? Like, the thing's taking ages to turn around. They're like point.
Definitely that woman who goes alarm, like surely Frau Farbissner from Austin Powers,
like 100%.
So based on her.
My favorite bit is she goes, "Remember when we?" It just hard cuts to her going, "Remember when we froze your semen?"
Lies, oh, lies.
Send in the fan box. Yeah. What was I saying? I can't remember.
Mr. Bronson from Grange Hill. I can't remember.
Oh yeah. So I did that Nazi megastructure thing.
It's such a Partridge name for a show. It really.
It's a very It really is. But anyway, it was an acting job. But one of the guys I was in with that, who was playing, I was playing a Luftwaffe pilot, and like a real life one, and I mean, as in like he was a man who did exist, not like I wasn't. Anyway, you know what I mean. And he was saying he knew the guy who played Hitler in what's the famous thing with that's often like people do memes and stuff of it all the time. Downfall.
Bruno
Thank
Ganz.
you. Sorry.
The late Bruno Ganz.
That's it.
Fuck
Bruno.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Knew Bruno Ganz, and he said like, because he grew all his hair and stuff like that to look like Hitler, and he said it was like a real problem, like going home after, like, because and I think other people have found this as well, like, because if you're going to do it and grow the moustache, you've got to walk around in public with that moustache until you finish filming, right? So it's like
the comedian Richard Herring did a whole stand-up show called Hitler Moustache, where he had a Hitler moustache for a year just to explore that concept. Yeah.
Jesus. Or Charlie Chaplin moustache.
Yeah, so the toothbrush moustache, I think, is the correct technical name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ruined by Hitler, as was the name Adolf.
Absolutely wrecked it. Not as much as the name. Still get the odd Adolf, but not as many Hitlers anymore.
Yes. Yeah. The Hitler family changed their name after that.
Yeah, very angry they were. What was like? Oh yeah, the scene we've just seen, and again, it's something that my kid brain always liked. Is like, I love how that kind of castle set. It feels like one of those, those toy sets that swing open. You'd get all the levels. There's this kind of crazy three-dimensionality to it because there's something hidden behind everything. And the staircase is that piece that kind of unfurls, and he falls down it, and you see it. And the stuff with the fireplace, everything's kind of three-dimensional. There are spaces within spaces and stuff, and it's such a memorable little bit of set design. And it just feels like there's a lot going on. I think this movie feels so well thought out. Nothing's really wasted in it, and everything has a little something extra to it, because this is nuts. Don't we go from the motorcycle chase to like the plane?
I think.
I love it because he fucking lances this guy, doesn't he? Yeah. You see that? You see Henry Senior goes and smiles when he realizes what he's thought of. It's great.
No, I love all that stuff. It's such a nicely, it's like the thing with the boat. When he sends a boat, it's like, get on the boat, and it's like, no, like he sends it off as a decoy, and they all jump in the boat, and then they fly out the thing. I love all that stuff, and because this is all about, again, how can I say this without sounding embittered?
Okay.
Well, look, in a previous place that we may have been on in YouTube, who used to do such, reviews.
I don't know
and
who or what you're talking about.
No, but anyway, I made the rather salient point to said person who was doing a thing on this film, that the journey of this film is about, yes, it's to find the literal Holy Grail, i.e. the cup of eternal life, and the point of Henry Jones Senior's journey is that he finds it in his son, right? So at the end, when he's saying let it go, and they both have to tell each other to let it go, but Henry, the reason why Henry has that enlightenment is because he's realized that it was in his son all along, and that's his arc. It's a fatherhood arc, right? And so a lot of these scenes and everything is like seeing his son being clever, coming up with solutions to stuff, but he never trusted him to before. He always thought he was the one who was going to have to do it. And that's what it's about. It's a father and son journey. It's a really, and I love that. That's again, it's like because it grounds it in a real human relationship and state of being. That's what makes it relatable. That's what all these things are great for. I mean, talk about Terminator again, but it's like that's what Terminator 2 is. It talks about family and fatherhood and parenthood and role reversals and all that sort of stuff. And that's why all the other subsequent films just failed, because they were just pots and pans, fucking
Yeah.
point A to point Z, like just procedural garbage. And it's like,
What if this time it was a woman and it went fucking home and had a dick for a face or whatever?
Dick for
So
a
who
face.
cares? It
God,
may as
imagine
well,
if,
because
imagine if someone used all those salient points in the YouTube video and didn't credit the author. Anyway,
well, I wasn't. Yeah.
what? Oh no,
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about something related.
I guess it would be somewhere on the shelf along with the fourth Indiana Jones film that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, their relationship is so important to this, and Henry, because they being sort of being men, and particularly men of a certain era, they're incapable of talking to. They just can't say what they feel to each other, and it's when Indy, he thinks Indy's dead, that he's just like he goes. I can't remember. He says something like he basically says, I wanted to tell him how proud he was. And he kind of goes, it only would have taken 5 minutes, or something like that. And then he reappears on the cliff behind him, and he kind of hugs him, and Indy doesn't know what to do with it, but then sort of leans in and takes it as well, and it's really sweet.
I love that moment. But it's one of the best moments as well. Like Harrison Ford, like all disheveled, just sort of hoons into view, and just like looks, wonders what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Like, he looks
and Henry looks at him and then looks back and does a double take. It's just fucking brilliant.
It's brilliant.
There's a lovely little moment.
A literal book burning.
Yeah. Did you burn me fucking Harry Baker's book? No. Did you burn me Jimmy Neal book?
Just a pile of Jimmy Nail's autobiography.
I don't know what this means as well, because like the Geordie Nazis burn. They've got it in for Geordie authors. Like, what?
They don't want to know how to make like lardy cakes and Yorkshire pudding.
Like really stodgy pies, and also autobiographies of actors / singers.
If you were a Geordie Nazi, you would want the Geordies to be a super race, right? So you'd get rid of all evidence of fatty foods and Jimmy Nails. No crocodile shoes.
No crocodile shoes. Also, but how fucking spectacular is this? Like in terms of its staging, it's
Look how far back it goes as well. They've literally got extras walking around in a giant circle with a crowd and everything, and they're just filming this stuff with that as a backdrop.
It's nuts.
That's freaking amazing.
It's completely insane. It does. Well, I wonder, because like I said, talk about Starship Troopers all those moons ago when we did that. Probably one of our first things we did. That's based on kind of Lenny Riefenstahl's like Nazi propaganda. And there's these huge crowd scenes where everything's in focus. Not everything's in focus here, but it does have that feel of this vastly. So maybe they're looking at one hand at that.
It's not in focus as well. It's like sort of, it's so throwaway.
Yeah.
In a good way, it really draws your eye to just how big that scope is.
It's interesting because if you look at, I do love the kind of the autograph confusion here is brilliant.
Backs it to Hitler, and he's just like, and what's he holding?
It's the Grail diary. It's the Grail diary.
The Grail.
And he's literally handed it to the leader of the Third Reich, and what I love about this, like the leader of the Third Reich's a fucking dumbass.
But it's not that he's a dumbass; he's just so egocentric that he can't think that it's for anything else but an autograph.
He storms up as well.
Do you know what I mean? It's like he's hoisted by his own petard there, because he just got handed exactly what he's searching for.
He failed me.
Like it just literally dropped into his hands, and because of his own hubris and fucking arrogance, he writes his name in it.
Yeah, that's great. Spielberg, as a Jewish filmmaker, did the kind of view of the Nazis as a World War II boys' own adventure, but then also in Schindler's List, where it's very, very serious and very real. Whereas this, what originally handled it as a kind of a war thing, and kind of slightly knockabout, but then kind of really, because I think Schindler's List wasn't something that Spielberg came up with. I think they wanted Roman Polanski for it and others first, and he ended up directing it.
Right.
Because it's a really serious subject matter, but it also lent itself to all this kind of adventure-y, kind of knockabout action pulp stuff. So there's that too. Also, on a lighter note, in more way than one, love an airship in a movie. Not enough airships. This has the great no ticket thing as well.
It's
great. All this stuff as well, because it's such a ridiculously expensive looking film. Is that John Williams?
I know.
I thought I saw John Williams, and then I kind of remembered, doesn't John Williams have a cameo? No, that's just a mark.
That
I
could
think that's
be.
what John Williams. That's what John Williams looks like now. It's not what he looked like in
That's John.
1989
Yeah,
necessarily.
what the white-haired guy. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you probably.
yeah.
I don't think
So
that's what
John
John
Williams. Did you know time traveling John Williams is in?
He was like,
Indiana Jones
I got them to do me up to look like I would 20 years from now.
Do you know what piece of music was originally written by John Williams? Now that's ridiculously broad, but it's because I'm setting you up for an amusing trap that's a callback to a thing we did once.
What that he ever wrote ever?
Yeah. Well, you know, what's the famous thing that he wrote?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
Superman.
He actually did. He wrote that.
No, I know. Yeah, you're
Apollo
right.
440 did the amazing remix that improved upon the lackluster work of John Williams with samples of Matt LeBlanc from Friends. But he wrote the original. There's a deep cut for you there to Duncan and I's film commenting relationship.
Fair enough.
There's a ref for you guys. There's a ref.
No ticket.
He's got his normal trousers on underneath the thing as well. He just looks so rubbish.
Just chucked the like really ill-fitting jacket on.
Well,
everyone grabs it. But I love how he says it in America. Oh, because they're going to America, aren't they? Of course. So there would be an American.
Pretty blue screen-tastic stuff there.
Yeah.
But, you know, this
It's a bit like the shaking of the fists. That's not a thing people do anymore, is it? They're like...
If I have tried to do it in anger, and it just feels weird. Because it just felt like
it just feels comical.
No, you exactly. It's like, no,
you motherfucker, you,
you motherfucker, you. Yeah,
I love the way he hasn't felt the need to keep up the ruse of being a busboy through the entire.
Presumably, he just sat down at the table and took it off. He's like, I'm on my break for the flight to America.
Yeah, I'm not I don't. I haven't got a ticket either. I was just.
Because that's all these extras.
Who's an archaeologist? Huh?
Having a booze. Actually, no, you would have a booze, wouldn't you? In those
years.
Yeah. Yeah, just again, it's
breakfast.
another like really expansive set, and there's those kind of nice little like the Art Deco details, like that lamp and stuff in the background, shifting light as well because they're moving around, like
I was gonna
really
say
subtle.
Yeah.
Something there's just such like
No, it's brilliant.
It's really just high level for this era. It's just so insanely lavish. It's a really beautiful looking film.
No, I love all that. I mean, that is an art that has really been lost. I mean, I think providing these huge canvases to set as a backdrop, and populating it with people and and a big set and stuff like you just don't get that anymore. It's like, so when you see, what was it I saw behind the scenes, it was probably like something like one of the prequels or a modern day Star Wars film or whatever, and it was just a big room of blue with like partial bits of set because they had to be there kind of thing. And it was just like, that's
well, I saw a thing, and I don't know if it's a joke or not. Like remember in Captain America: Civil War where they run at each other on the runway?
Yeah,
it was a big blue room, and it was Scarlett Johansson running, and it was like the only one that was shot as a real element was Scarlett Johansson because she's the only one that's just a human in a costume for that shot, and everybody else has.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like VFX of course is incredible, and it's a whole art in itself. But yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of disappointing to behold as a kind of viewer when it's kind of like
It's nothing wrong. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with doing it. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it when you've got characters like that, or where you've got films like Ready Player One or that kind of thing, where it's like, I mean, you go in expecting that kind of world, and in that regard, you get this huge.
You couldn't do that end scene from Endgame on a set. It'd be impossible, or at least the way it looks.
No, of course, there's a place for it. Don't get me wrong, but I suppose what I'm getting at is that there seems to be a real big move to just jettison this style of filmmaking altogether. And I know people are pointing to like Christopher Nolan and stuff, and I guess but I don't think he's not in the same kind of mold as this, which is, and that's fine. I'm not saying that makes him bad. I just mean that it's just not the same. People aren't doing this really anymore, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
Not in a big way.
You get your
Brad, get on it.
Yeah, exactly. Brad's
Rob, you're fired. No.
Brad's got real attitude for the classic look and feel, hasn't he? We've talked about that at length before. I love the gag of, like, he just shoots up the tail and then blames it on the Nazis. So doesn't he like pretend that they shot it? Because he rotates the gun down and shoots their own tail out when he's trying to shoot it.
I think there's, I do think most like people like Rob and stuff would agree, and I think we even talked about it when Rob did his interview on the channel, which is really great, by the way, guys. You should go check it out if you haven't already, because some really interesting stuff in there. But it's like, I don't think people who work in special effects and animation and stuff want to make everything out of CGI. I think it's they love, because a lot of them are like us, they love film and they want to make it look as good and cinematic as possible. But I think a lot of the edict nowadays, I think, comes down from like, can we save money by just constructing it as elements rather than going out and shooting it for real? You know.
Well, a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, look at that.
Sorry, sadly, got us. They, a lot of the stuff. And this is the thing. I think this is the real shame with VFX. A lot of the time, you don't realise it's VFX. Like, so it's got so good now that sometimes you just think it isn't there, and actually there's some. I love seeing those things where they strip away some of the elements, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, that's incredible. Like, I never even would have. I watched this thing. There's a couple of guys. I can't remember what it's called. Sam Veal, friend of the channel and moderator Sam Veal, sent me this video about a couple of guys in Scotland made a low budget film about World War II, and it set in Scottish village in World War II. And a lot of the buildings are period appropriate and stuff. And they'd done things such as they had loads of CGI planes and they'd shot loads of model planes and composited it all together. You never would have known. The thing that really, really got me was they shot something in the back garden of a house with this little boy and a mum and a dad, and the windows were modern, like PVC windows, and they'd changed them to old iron frame windows. And like, it's so simple, but you never would have spotted it in a billion years. Like, it's just like, and you think about that even 10 years ago for someone on a micro budget, that would have been impossible. And they've just, and it's completely seamless.
Yeah, I remember a guy I knew, Ilias, who worked in visual effects, and he'd done a bunch of stuff for TV. And I remember him showing me a thing he'd done where it was like supposed to be a period bit with guys on horses riding up to a castle or something like that. And the real shot was just modern day. There was like a lamppost and there was roads and stuff. And he took them all out, but he said there was one bit where they couldn't get away from the horse. The horse went around a lamppost and went into the castle, and it was like, that was the best take they had. So he had to remove the lamppost, so the horse looked like it just walked around a thing. If you knew to look for it, but you wouldn't know, you know. But it was just like and that was ages ago as well. But yeah, it's that is true. And I mean, it is where it's really handy is things like, you know, shooting, not having to shoot if you want a bright summer's day, having to wait for the weather. You can just shoot wherever, whenever, and put it in afterwards. You know. Yeah,
we did a on Duncan and I's corporate work the other day. The client wanted to reshoot their intro, and the person did it because, you know, the client in question is not a videographer, so they were making this stuff at home and doing a good job. But when she restaged her intro, I think she did it the next day put the same outfit on against the same background. Her original take had a spotlight behind it, and a new one didn't. And I was able to go in After Effects and add the spotlight and mask it off around her face. And like, it wasn't the most amazing thing ever, but I did it on my home PC and in about half an hour, and it looked like, decent, didn't it? Like, I'm not going to say it did, but like it.
I thought it looked spot on.
The power you have as an individual now for that kind of stuff is nuts. Like, just playing around with After Effects. Like, I've been doing kind of fake lighting and stuff for a movie and compositing and stuff, and it's amazing the power you now have as a filmmaker, like in your fucking bedroom, or what have you, wanking den, Fortress of Solitude, shared, whatever, wherever there's Wi-Fi.
Call it what you will.
Yes, call it what you will. Where there's Wi-Fi and power outlets, you can After Effects and jerk it.
You'll find me in a chrysalis.
In a chrysalis, in a hardened shell of my own ejaculate.
Making movies.
But mostly semen. This is Alexi Sale, isn't it? This is Alexi Sale.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
a weird kind of half-life turning up in movies, Alexi Sale. It was odd. Bless it. God love him.
It was sort of like the Omid Jalili then took over from him. It's a comedian playing, you know. Yeah,
because Omid Jalili's in The Mummy, isn't he? He's in the first Mummy movie.
I believe so, yeah, and he's in Gladiator, and he's in The World Is Not a Muff, and...
That's a muff. That's a muff. That's a muff.
This, not a muff. When James Bond will return, in The World Is Not a Chuff.
That's not a chuff. That's not a chuff. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
James Bond points to things.
He says it's not a fanny. No, he says it's not a chuff. Fucking hell.
I'm confused. Why do these take 5 years to do?
It got delayed because of COVID.
I wanted to know if the world was a chuff.
Is it a chuff or not? A different? Nah, no spoilers.
I doubt it was his brother.
Da, da, da. Oh, quality content. Quality content from Val Verde Broadcasting as usual. Quality film content. Absolutely, just giving you our educated opinions on the world of film. Is it a fucking chuff, you bastard? We quick exchange. Richard's Pierce sounds like Trump. Yeah, I can believe. Yeah. Yeah, you know, great movie.
Great movie, the best.
the best. But this is because I go too far. But it's Trump's campness, isn't it? He's camp,
very camp,
and people don't seem to want to notice that. It's kind of like China virus, and it's just like, yeah, this guy's really camp, lads. I don't know, but there you
go. Dana Carvey does it in that sort of mold as well, doesn't he?
I've never seen Dana Carvey's Trump.
Very camp, you know. It's very like, you know. Yeah, I can't do it. But the best.
The best. Oh, Stephen Allen's reference. Oh, do you remember the Stotts from Vic and Bob? They used to sort of.
Oh yeah. We are.
So when they
interviewed Caprice. There's that dates it point.
That carbon. I feel like all my wanks have been cut in half, and someone counted the rings when you say Caprice. Carbon dated.
That was my favourite one though, because they said Caprice. They were like, when you go, we asked the question, you know, like a xylophone. He goes, sometimes when you get home after a long day modelling, do you like to sit down and relax with a nice calming pool?
I was all about when they interviewed Sinead O'Connor, and I think they're talking about nothing compares to you, and he goes, "My mum cried when she saw it." Oh, the Stotts, man! A nice relaxing poo.
Unwind with a nice relaxing poo. Or whatever they call it.
Oh man, I remember Stars in Their Eyes as well. And it's like Matthew Kelly asks, like, it's not actually Matthew. You know, who are you? What do you do? And, my name's Bill Decker, and I'm a murderer. I did George Michael when he just had a thing stuck in his face. Anyway, 40-year-old men recall 90s comedy.
We are not 40. Why do you always do this? You always like say we're older than we are.
Up,
we're not.
Round up.
Well, you can round up.
You can round up. You can. It's just funnier, isn't it? It's funnier to do yourself down. I just find that, you know, it's humour within self-deprecation.
Well, yeah, but that's just lying.
It's factually incorrect. Doug's going to get his driving licence out. I've got a provisional. Well, I need to. I seem to have in my stopped recalling hilarity. I've knocked a contact lens loose. I think. I'll put some.
Borat's going to die.
Very nice. A cup of life.
I don't like Jews either.
Did you watch Borat 2? Borat 2 was pretty great.
I haven't. Yeah, subsequent movie.
I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would, actually.
Oh really? Yeah, okay. Because the first one was great, but it fell into that thing of like everyone did it to death, so it wasn't funny anymore because it was just like
basically. So it was loads of lads on stag do's in Mankini saying "my wife" at each other for what, a decade.
Yeah, ironically single men.
Yes, you'd have thought. See, this doesn't really. I think it takes a breather when they go on the airship, but that's really stringed together these two huge sequences that then go to the end, because the end stuff's all shot in Jordan, isn't it?
Yeah, Petra. Yeah, where I have been. I've been to
Ah.
Petra with Dad. Dad, if you're still there, you'll recall, I'm sure.
Philip
But yeah,
Casey was
yeah,
shot
we went.
by a rival archaeologist, and Duncan had to go through to get the cup of life
And
from
I was
a
like, oh,
table unknown.
not again.
Not
And I
again.
go,
Fucking hell. Not again.
find a medieval knight in across a invisible bridge.
Yes. I love that. We'll get to that. It's really cool. All of that is really good.
Yeah, that doesn't work though, because that's sort of it's like, yeah, it's fine again through the lens of the camera. Yeah, that makes sense. But from where he's
you have to
standing, he should
stand in
still
there.
be able to see.
Yeah, I mean, because you do get illusions like that in real life. They are possible to do, but yeah, you have to be stood.
Yeah, but
one
if he
space.
just went, like you'd see him.
Da, 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 da.
But again, that's the point, isn't it? Is that like that? I think all that stuff's very deliberate, because I think when you do that, you're essentially telling the audience that this is make believe. It is a way of breaking the fourth wall and saying, um, reminding them that you're seeing a thing as viewed by a film camera, not that you should be taking literally, like Mr. Jackson in row 57A.
Right. Yes, indeed. The literal interpretation.
Shaking his
Yes.
fist.
Yes.
Just doing that.
I'm
With a MacBook
40.
in one hand.
Doing that.
With a MacBook in one hand and a protractor.
Protractor. It's quite Goonies-esque, isn't it? The ending of this. You remember they go to but then the Goonies is doing a similar thing. Really, it's in the same pool of references, I think.
For sure.
Because that's very kind of boys' adventure. Not that I've watched it in ages, because it's one of those things that have been spoiled by nostalgia twats. Is it a great movie? Yeah, great movie. I can't stress that enough.
This is a great set piece as well, with all the with him hanging off the gun and stuff, and it's like,
yeah, pure spectacle, isn't it? It's amazing. This whole thing. It really kind of, because the one I really love the chase in the build up in the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, but that's kind of him versus a truck. And the stakes are really good because it feels quite real, but it's really kind of visceral and quite bloody. And just Jesus Christ, this is a bit softer, but you're raising the stakes and stuff. Like it's all amped up and everything.
That's such a hard shot to think, like to get him arriving, like turning up on the horse, pulling up, doing the thing for
rock,
mugging for camera, and then riding off. And it's like, mate, that's so hard. How do you hit a mark with a freaking?
I can't stress enough on film. I know high-end film is probably easier because you've got a million people running around, loads of money. But on film,
yeah,
it's just such a nightmare. Oh god, shooting on film is one of the worst experiences of my life. I'll never do it again. I'm happy to just completely embrace digital and be a cunt. It's fine.
Wasn't it? Didn't Vic Armstrong double for Harrison Ford in this?
I believe so. Yeah. Did he not do all of them?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Who I had lunch with him accidentally. Well, not yeah.
Accidentally.
That's when I
stop
missed
eating.
That's when I missed that I was sat next to Kevin Costner.
Right.
That's one of those weird days where it was like I was so into the fact that I was like privy to a conversation with Vic Armstrong and another one of his stunt team that I missed the fact that Kevin Costner sat down next to me and had his lunch. I just genuinely didn't look.
Well,
someone said to me, like, when they got after we'd finished our lunch, he got up, he was like, "How cool was that?" And I went, "I know, right? Vic Armstrong." And he went, "Who?" And I was like, Vic Armstrong." And he went, "No, you were sat next to Kevin Costner." Was I? I till to this day don't know if he was lying.
Nothing against Kevin Costner, but I still think you were winning there.
Yeah. Hey,
no offense, Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner's awesome, but come on, it's Vic Armstrong and the stunt guys. That's cool as shit.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, you've literally done most of the Bond films of my most of the Bond films from I mean, he directed Second Unit on Tomorrow Never Dies, but he also he was from You Only Live Twice. He started doubling Connery and stuff, so he's been around, man. Vic Armstrong has done it all.
Legends.
Indeed.
Yeah, good old the Joneses in their casual attitude to killing.
But they just shot 3 men, like it was like, and was happy.
He does a comedy look at the gun, yeah. But it's like, that's the tone.
Right.
The dude going under the tank. This is what I loved about, like, again, as a young'un, that's the stuff I loved. It was just like, fuck, it was so kind of actiony and nasty and stuff.
Yeah, well, he's a baddie, right? So it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly Nazis are such great disposable bad guys because they've got
yeah.
kind of. I've got to shoot him in the bum hole. So I think this gets away because this does a few silly things, but when you get to Crystal Skull and it's all like wacky gophers, it's like at least that has the decency to open badly, so you can know whether to stick with it or not. But not when you're in a cinema and you've gone to see the new Indiana Jones film, which I
I'm
went
going
to.
to pay good money to see the first Indiana Jones film in 20 years, and it's that terrible.
Yeah, it's a gopher going. Ooh! Okay. A Steven Spielberg film. Oh, look at that. Did I don't, if I'm to believe old media, all old-fashioned pens had a button that made them, fountain pens had a button that made them violently eject ink. And what was that for?
Well, I think because you had reusable cartridges, which you can still buy, where you can suck up the ink and put it into the fountain pen.
Oh, so that's
but I gather that if you then push the thing, it would. Yeah.
But do you know what else media does, but stopped doing? So everybody got wise to media's bullshit. Vacuum cleaners having a blow mode. No vacuum cleaner has a blow mode. No
turn
one
it
would
from
it.
suck to
Oh,
blow.
let's put all this dust back into the room for no reason. For no reason. It's like, what, in case you have to inflate a balloon in emergency because you're on an iron lung? Like, what's that for?
Well, you've uninvented the thing. It's like the point of it was to clean things with a vacuum.
Yeah.
And it's like it shouldn't be to then dirty things with a blow, should it?
It's if an iron had a crease mode. Just take it back out. It's like, what, in case, on one hand, I quite like the idea of a world where every invention has its opposite function built in purely for spite. I don't know why. You sort of someone didn't do their share of the washing up, so you uniron their clothes or unhoover their floor. It's like
a dishwasher that puts grease on all your something.
It's just connected to the filth main. And it just pipes bits of spaghetti back into it.
That's a really bloody bit where the guy gets shot and bounces around the thing and gets shot in the head. Yeah, it's like I mean, what was I going to say? I don't know. I was going to come up with some witty retort, but I'm far too ill for that.
You're carrying it very well, mate. It must be said.
Yeah.
You're carrying it very well. There we go.
Yeah, there's blood all over the tank and stuff like that. It's pretty,
They're quite nasty, aren't they? I mean, in Star Wars was kind of similar, but I think Star Wars got less kind of like that as they went on. But there's a bit that always gets me Return of the Jedi. Like, again, it's not very bloody because of laser guns and stuff. But one stormtrooper straight up just takes a laser bolt to the face, like in the Ewok bit. It just goes pow, and it all smokes, and it's like, I mean, I get that that's not bloody, but that's pretty fucking nasty. I mean, it's cool. I'm not an idiot, but yeah, it's pretty nasty thing to see.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you kind of go, like, I get the, it's not like, because my mum used to be quite anti-violence in films and stuff like that, and that kind of, not in a sort of Mary Whitehouse way, but in a kind of like, I just don't want my baby to be corrupted by these things, and it's like, I'm not.
Yeah, a lot of parents like that.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, if you understand like this is especially I think for boys, but I do think for girls as well. It's like a lot of this is a catharsis. This sort of stuff. You don't watch this so that you then go out and think, I know I'm going to go and shoot someone. Like that's not really is.
It's you don't.
No, and it's that thing. There's constant sort of misunderstanding that depicting something is akin to glorifying it, or
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, any no more than like listening to most music that has people object to things in music. Like it's normally it's supposed to be narrative. It's not instructional or biographical. It's usually kind of a narrative thing. So it's something here that I really like. We got a close up of the tank thundering to the edge, and the wind takes Indy's hat off.
Yeah.
Watch how Indy's hat comes back. It's brilliant. It's a really lovely wry. I'll point out in a minute, but it's a really, unless you know what I'm talking about, but it's a really cute little joke to how Indy's hat comes back, having just massively been lost in all that kerfuffle. You can't leave out his hat. It's really cute. But this is the nice dad and son thing, because he's kind of, he thinks he's dead, and there's a cute little double take and stuff. They're all still looking over the edge when he comes back out and stuff. That's kind of a callback to him crawling up the snake as well, isn't it? That log.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah, I love the way he just hooves interview, like just like,
He looks back.
like what are we looking at?
He's all kind of punch drunk as well, which is great. He's just still
Yeah.
sort of reeling. There you go. That jacket is ruined.
It really is. Yeah, it's because he was on the treads of that
Yeah, of course.
tank.
There's supposed to be a bit of tread action. But yeah, this is nice. You know, they finally get to sort of look. Watch what happens here. Watch. Okay, go back to that shot. Go on, back off. Look, the hat just rolls in on the wind, and it's like it's really thrown away. So it just rolls across the floor and lands in front of him, despite being
I love
massively
that.
blown
Yeah,
up.
that's weird. That I never sort of really took notice of that before.
I never
but, yeah.
had until I watched. I kind of skimmed this a bit earlier today, and I just thought I've never noticed that. And of course, his hat come up because he went over a cliff. You can't have him crawl up with his hat. And they just did like a little throwaway gag how the hat just rolls towards him. It's really sweet. Really nice little thing.
That's really great. This is Petra. So yeah, this is the. I forget the story of it, but it's basically it was uncovered at some point, and they found this whole city just carved into rock, basically.
Hanging with the fucking world.
And it's not just. I mean, you all you see in this is I think it's the library is it the library or whatever it is. It's the thing you see when you first go into Petra, but
the kind of columns
there's like a
and stuff,
whole
the
this thing, right? But which is I think all they shot because it's the exterior and then the interiors are on a set, but it's insane. It's really insane. But there's a whole there's way more to it than that. There's a whole like amphitheater carved into the just cut into the mountains and stuff. It's because it's a sort of range of like canyons and stuff that goes through, and it's just been everything's carved into it. I mean, I'm sure Google it, you'll see tons of pictures of everything, but I'm sure you could probably Google Earth, do a tour through it or something.
Right.
But
really
it's nuts. It's
location,
absolutely. Consider that this was done by hand, you know.
Gregor Craig just hit on one of my childhood confusions, not about my sexuality, because this is a thing that when I was a kid, I always thought. Well, I'll read it first. I was always confused, says Gregor Craig, because I assumed that drinking from the Grail would mean Indy and his dad would live forever, and I thought the same thing. I thought as a kid because he says like it, you know, the effect ends when you leave the temple or something, doesn't he? The Templar guy.
Yeah.
But
when you cross the threshold, the thing, yeah.
I clearly just didn't acknowledge that as a child, and I was kind of like, well, they can't make another one because now Indy and Henry Jones are immortal, so there won't be any threat in the next film. And I just always thought they were immortal now until I was probably an adult. I will say that I very much like when he pours it on the bullet wound, it all fizzes like Alka-Seltzer, and it looks like it'd be really satisfying. It looks like it's probably quite a pleasant experience to be healed by a Holy Grail. I don't know.
Just a slight itch, and then it's done.
Yeah, a little fizzy pop.
Yeah, so that's a great little bit of visual story. Well, obviously you see his head, but it's the fact that the thing goes past and you go, what was that? And then you see that because he was holding his sword like that, the sword falls to the floor and it's cut in half, and it's like tells you exactly what. And
you see quite a lot of a decapitated head. It's not very bloody, but the decapitated head rolls all the way up, and it's a really good looking head. It's kind of like remember when Alfred Molina dies in the start of Raiders, and he's like thing? It's like you see it, it's like fucking hell, Jesus Christ, I like that shot when they're lined up, that kind of symmetrical thing when the two sides are lined up. Uh-huh. That's just really nice, kind of thrown away bit of cinematography. Good light sources as well. They kind of a few points of light there. It just looks nice. Picks them out from the background. Yeah. There's a lot going on with the lighting in this movie. Actually, it's a bit in places it's a bit flatter than the original two, but in other places it's really spectacular. I mean, that thing on the airship where there's clearly a huge lamp that's articulated to represent the sun shifting as the airship moves. It's amazing. There's amazing attention to detail. I never would have thought to have done that.
It's fantastic. It's I love all that stuff. But again, like you said, I suppose when you have a team of people who do this for a living, like being paid the top dollar,
exactly.
You kind of. But I mean, look, people don't. You see things that are made for much more money than this would have been, and they don't think of things like that.
It happens. It absolutely happens. Yeah, and the stuff we've talked about before, where things like that have happened. Cheers to you and Richard for making me feel less stupid, says Craig or Greg. I think James Atkinson had the same thing. Yeah, the immortality.
I will say this, that I do think this is vaguely anticlimactic. I do think it has a sort of Herculean 12 tasks type thing to it, which is great, but and it has a lot of tension, but there's not a lot of action in it, which I suppose for your kind of action, the other two kind of end on action set pieces, and this has this, it's almost like a denouement. It's not, but it's like we've done the action now. Now it's just sort of.
I know what you mean. Well, the first one has.
I like it.
Spectacular catharsis, doesn't it? The first one has. Well, you're going to see them melt and explode now. In the first film, whereas this is a bit. Yeah, no, I get it. I
turns
think
into a spaghetti skeleton.
I always had a thing with my brother, like when he drinks from the wrong Grail and kind of hyper ages. There's about one frame where he looks like Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future. For about one frame, but the rest, it's like he's in there when his hairs are white and he's all
Marty.
Great Scott. Yeah, but I like that is kind of trying to be like the melting Nazi, isn't it? The hyper aging thing. I think a lot of it's kind of aping Raiders, but I don't have a huge problem with that. Frankly, all right with it. It looks fucking great.
Penitent man kneels before God. Penitent man kneels before God. Penitent.
And the Latin alphabet, Jehovah starts with an I.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it immediately cuts to Indy going like, "Okay, J for Jehovah." When his foot gets straight through it. Do a kneeling. Do a kneeling.
Penitent man. The penitent man kneels before God. Penitent man. This goes on a bit. Penitent man.
Oh, right, that is so cool. I love it. I think they're presumably rotoscoped blades.
Yeah,
they look really great. Pardon me, everybody. Oh, sorry. Just nasty. They're so sharp. It cut that guy's sword in half. Like I say, great storytelling. It really establishes the level of threat before we see it, which I think is important.
Yes.
There's gravity to it. You've got fuzz on your head. Don't get that fuzz off your head, you fuck.
Spider fuzz. Excuse me.
We're both tired, boys. We're both tired, boys.
I've been working my bollocks off this week, I tell you.
Yeah, me too. I mean, all sorts going on. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm just listening.
It's pretty like you and I pretty much work together on everything now. There isn't.
We do, don't we? I think
it's like, yeah.
The only thing's like when I'm going away doing shoot days with Scott, that's the only time I'm not doing stuff with you. Really, it's
pretty much, yeah.
I've got going on. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably hopefully when things start back up, I won't need to go temping again, which is great.
That'd be
forever, but the way things have been going, it shouldn't be necessary, so that's good.
That sort of the reveal underneath of how that's all set up, though, is a bit like it sort of implies that only the ones you're supposed to step on are supported.
But it's like
how was he then able to pull
chasm.
himself up on? Yeah. How could he pull himself up onto the thing?
They made him just.
And also, like,
rock.
if he just looked underneath, he could see where it was supported, and then do that. Just do that. Why don't you do that?
Just look left. Look left.
You're not clever though, are you?
Oh, is it though? Why don't you just put your head left though? It's perspective though. It's optical illusion though. You're a dickhead though. Okay, like Indy's just followed by this really disparaging twat. It's just like, oh, you got a little book of you droids, is it? Yeah, is it though?
Why don't you just Google it though?
I knew that already though before I even got it though. What is it? Jesus' cup, is it? Yeah.
He's not real though, is he? Though.
Did you make him up though? Did you? It's not like it's a wooden cup.
I went to Sunday school too, though.
I mean, his dad was a carpenter, but he wasn't. He like sold fish or something. Fish and wine manufacturer, really? Was if you were going to give him a
Piss
job
artist.
title. Piss artist,
but
yeah.
with lots of omega-3.
It's true, and disruptor of market stalls.
Yes.
Oh, Indy. But
So-
the reveal of this is when I first saw it felt kind of mind bending because
Oh no, it's great.
It's a really clever bit because you get people do those chalk drawings and stuff now that use essentially this effect. I'm sure there's a proper name for it, but
Yeah, of course.
it's kind of a type of forced perspective, I suppose.
Yeah,
but and it works really well. But
it does, but not again. It relies on a fixed perspective. If you were standing there, like you would still see it.
don't worry, he's got sand. It's quite narrow.
It sounds like the apple, pen, pineapple, apple. Yeah, and then when you see it like that, you can see all the rock down the side of it and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like
it's just like
really
did they paint that? Is it not worn off? It's got like shoe marks on it from the last guy. 'Cause it's all dusty.
I have to assume that like it's that it's been done as a sort of green element or blue element that's been rotoscoped out.
Yeah. I think
For certain shots.
I think this Knight Templar has to come out and sweep it from every time something. It's got
With
like
his beard, 'cause he wore down his broom.
He's been there for 1,000 years or whatever. Did you know there's a Knight Templar like shrine underneath Royston?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called.
Is Joe Biden guiding that one as well?
Wait, what? What is that? Oh, I see. Sorry.
He's old.
I don't know. It took me. No, I thought there'd be. Yeah, news is so weird now that I thought that was a thing I just hadn't read. It's like, oh yeah, no, he's this senile mad cunt is guarding a Knight Templar. And I believe it because news is so weird now. It's just like, yeah, that's
really
probably true.
Aren't we going to war with France now or something? Because of fishing in Jersey.
God, overfishing because of Jersey. Oh, we're such a doomed species. We really are.
Or turn off your lights. Oh, sorry, turn off your lights. Give us fish.
I didn't know you spoke French.
I do. Perfect.
Yeah, it's the hello type of French.
The language of love.
It's pronounced language.
You know anything, mate?
Fucking hell. Oh Christ! But anyway, yeah, there's an underground Knights Templar shrine in Royston in Hertfordshire, which is I'm saying that in interest because that's fairly local to me in Duncan.
Yes,
and you can only go in the summer months because in the winter months it floods. Because one of my pals from my tour guide days has access, and she was like, "Oh, dude, you got to come and check out the tunnels."
What's in it? What is it? What is it?
I think it's like a religious shrine inside. I'm not completely sure. There's some kind of tunnels. You get into it through one of the buildings on the high street, and it leads to kind of like a clearing inside, little opening, and I think there's a shrine there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Cool thing.
No, it's cool. I'm not going down any more tunnels though for a while. I've done enough caves to last me a lifetime. I don't know why I went through a period of just shooting in caves. Like everything I was on was like, oh yeah, we're going into caves. It's like, oh, okay.
Why? Yeah, I think.
Why? We went to those sex caves in Erica. That was weird.
Sex caves?
It's the way you said that.
Well, no, it isn't. It's the way you said it. Just sort of casually going like, oh yeah, the sex caves. Like I'd be like, yes, of course, the sex caves we know about. The commonly mentioned, the oft-repeated phrase "sex caves." My incredulity was the problem.
No, I didn't say it's the problem. I just thought it was funny. Sex cave. Yeah.
Right.
They were. Right. There were these caves.
Oh God.
There were caves that were made by some, I don't know, lord of some manor somewhere, centuries ago or whatever, for him to hold orgies in. But they look like natural caves. They're kind of cool. They're like made out, cut into the. I think it's I don't know what it's sandstone or something like that, but it goes down really fast. Like they're really deep, and that's what she said. And and he used to hold orgies down there. So
where was it in England? So did you say?
Yeah, I forget where it was now. It was out near. Would have been out Slough way.
Oh, the sex.
Yes, he does look like Christopher.
Yeah,
Lloyd,
Christopher
right?
Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd, brother. That's his. That's the Christopher Lloyd. Oh, crazy. Okay, fair enough. Caves. So I've been to
Sex caves.
Sex caves. I've done a lot of kind of adventurous stuff. I've been like up mountains, and I've jumped off a building in a foreign country, and I've done, you know, I'm if you suggest something like that, I'll do it. I'm not interested in caves. Caves just feel a bit glum. You know, potholing and stuff doesn't appeal to me at all. But more or less anything else, if you suggest it, I'll say yes to. Especially in a sex cave. But yeah, caving to me, and particularly the kind of potholing, because you get those situations where you can't go back. You can only go forward because things get so narrow. It's just like, it doesn't appeal to me at all. It just seems a bit glum. It's not, no.
Yeah, like spelunking and all that. Forget it. Oh, yeah.
Captain Mick's Adventures. Duncan, do you have any tidbits of information on the type of drill used to make a sex cave?
No, but I'm sure it was phallic.
The bell-tipped drill.
Bell-ended.
Bell-ended.
The diamond-coated, bell-ended, tungsten, whatever. Also,
when they select the wrong cup, because obviously the point is they take the one modest cup, or modest-ish cup. But of all the other cups, they're all kind of similarly spectacular and look about the same, and they go, that one, and then he drinks it really smugly, and it's like, I would, you know...
How could you be that sure?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically going to nothing here. You've just gone for the most bling one. I mean...
And it's like, it was Jesus Christ, not fucking...
What, Lil Wayne?
Liberace, for God's sake. Lil Wayne. What the fuck?
He's so pleased with himself when he drinks it, and it's like, nah, mate, I don't think he didn't say drink the wrong one with no penalty whatsoever. Nobody said
that's what you get when you burn books, because you don't know who Jesus was.
They burnt the Grail guide, that year's Grail, the Grail almanac.
Did they? I'm assuming they did. But no, would they have burnt Bibles, the Nazis? I don't know.
I don't know, actually, I'm not sure.
Were they anti? I don't know. I don't think. Well, no, I don't know.
Sure.
I couldn't speak with any degree of authority on that, though I should be able to. But can he?
Because I lived through the Second World War. I'm actually 100.
No, because I've studied it, Pillock. But
no, Duncan's actually 100. That's why he gets annoyed when I say he's 40.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. How dare you?
I've got 60 additional years, you bastard. You broke the temple, you fucking idiots. You broke it, you
This
idiots.
is one of those things where it's like, don't cross the threshold. I've told you don't cross the threshold. It'll blow up. And it's like, we have to play it out like no one's listening to anyone.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, if you just say don't cross the threshold, you'll go like, but fine. And then you can go, all right, well, this is because of this. But it's like, no, we have to play it up like for some reason she's just becoming incandescent with gibberish so that she can't hear what he's saying.
Well, again, and it's sort of like smugly drinking from the wrong cup. It's kind of like, yeah, whatever, bye, crossing the threshold. Oh, you shouldn't have put... Look,
well, again, that's what happens if you believe you're the master race without any...
Always fills her right-hand glove with grease. It was her favourite... Oh. No, mine a greasing glove, and... That's quite...
Like the guy from, isn't it, of Mice and Men?
Yeah, Lenny.
Which is the one...
Lenny.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not Lenny.
No, it's not Lenny.
It's what's the farmhand guy called? Yeah, he has...
Yeah,
to keep
I can't
his
remember.
hand soft for his woman, he has that glove full of, like, moisturiser or whatever. Probably not moisturiser.
Yeah,
Vaseline or goat's milk.
Axle grease or whatever.
Axle grease. Oh, God.
Let it go.
Just a cup. There you go.
Let it go, Indiana. Not that. Doesn't he call him Indiana? That's the time.
Oh,
does it? Because I was.
Oh,
I think it's the only time. Yeah, he calls him.
Don't leave me.
I haven't spoken to anyone in 15,000 years.
I've got to sweep all this up with me beard. Being a Templar's shit.
Sorry, can you come back with me?
My mate Paul got stationed in Royston. They've got a Morrison's local.
My mate Joe's president now. Can you Can you bring us back a burger?
My older brother Joe is president.
I've heard about this McDonald's. Can you bring me back? Why would Knight, also a Knight of the Templar would not speak English with an English accent? He would be all like old Chaucerian, like rotti torti forty, and he'd be like, no idea what you're saying,
Makes
mate.
about as much sense as a magic cup, I suppose, at the end of the day.
Or a Chaucerian tome.
Chaucerian tome.
Not, or John Donne. Wasn't it John Donne who essentially word cunt?
I didn't know that.
To his coy mistress, yeah, he talks about her quaint.
Those
quaint.
Because that ended up being cunt with an E, didn't it? Eventually.
Yeah.
I loved how fucking like doing Chaucer at A-level was just like, Jesus Christ, someone got a hot poker up their arse, and it's just everybody's fucking each other, and it's very rude. It's like, this is like a, this is like a less weary version of Shakespeare. At least it's got boobs in it.
Yeah, it's very Bruegel, but words basically. Or like, look at Dellum Elliott's just this mad bastard in this.
He's great, isn't he? He's such a great character. I love him in Trading Places as well as the butler. He's so good in that. He's really, really great.
No,
that's a fantastic, spectacular movie, Trading Places.
I love this. The ending there as well. Like that's such a that thing of like you should know your characters by their silhouette. That would be great. You totally know the Jones for his silhouette and stuff. It's just
there's nothing subtle about riding off into the sunset, but this movie it deserves it. It's all part of the tone. It's all part of it. It's great. Yeah. It's just so good. And knowing that they would never ever make another one, it's perfect to have them ride off into the sunset, which they did.
Yeah.
Let's never have another adventure, Indiana, is what he says.
Yeah. Let's never ever speak of this again.
Under penalty of torture. It goes on. There's more running off into the sunset. That's perfect. That's a lovely shot. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
really good stuff. Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones. That's the theme tune to Indiana Jones, which we'll know and love.
Turned into a Stanley Kubrick shot.
Put a bit of the music on.
Dun, 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 dun.
And, there you go, stunt coordinator Vic the Armstrong. I saw Ben Burt in there as well. Lucasfilm sound god Ben Burt.
Yeah,
just lovely. I tend to turn the credits off, and this is no exception. Bye, Sunriding. Bye.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fuck you, movie. Fuck you, beloved movie. Teach you a lesson.
I really do love that film. I think I just don't think there's very few films you can say like there is not a there's not a dull moment in it really.
No, there really isn't. And it's 2 hours. It's quite long, but it's just paced, so brilliantly paced. I don't feel that I never feel that it drags or anything like that.
It's what a film. It's what a movie really should be. I think.
Yeah.
That's real.
It's pure entertainment.
Movie quality.
Yeah, very much so. It feels like a movie, and what does that mean? It's like movie rather than a film.
Yeah.
I used to have a teacher who was kind of like, "Don't call them movies, call them films," and I've never agreed with that because they're look, I think there's a difference. They're not mutually exclusive, but I think you can have some people are movie stars, some people are actors, some people are both, and I think like Schwarzenegger's a movie star.
Yeah.
Like by all definitions, he's an actor, but he's not someone with a huge amount of range. But he's a very charismatic performer, and he carried through on that.
Someone like Jack Nicholson is like a very capable actor, but he's a movie star first and foremost. I don't think he's a. Yeah. He's not a. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure on his tax return it says actor, but.
But he's because he's an actor and he's a very skilled actor, but he has the kind of star power to carry a film. Like from an economic sense, you can sell a film on the basis of that, but then he has that kind of leading man charisma as well. And I think it's the same with movies and films. They're not mutually exclusive, but you can draw a line between them. Like I'm not being dumb. Someone's going to go like, technically, shut the fuck up. We're being esoteric. That's allowed. Like Battery's not included. It's like that's a movie. And I think the Amberlin thing, it's a movie. It has this kind of magical, sort of wondrous quality to it. It's a movie. Fred Wiseman's high school documentaries, film. So I'd say quite comfortably call that a film rather than a movie.
Yeah, I reckon.
You know, or
Yeah.
anything. And it, you know, I do think it's esoteric, and I think it's kind of woolly, and it's not. This is, you know, this is the film analysis version of pop psychology. Really, I don't give it any particular weight beyond the kind of nice discussion on the internet and just establishing terms. But I do think it's sort of valid. I do. What I'm saying, Duncan, is I think the thing that you and I kind of just made up is valid, and there's a lot to be said for that.
I think to be honest, if you get if a quote unquote film critic or self-appointed film critic or an analyzer, if you know, you get a lot of this on YouTube, if self-appointed film reviewers and critics or whatever, who want to tell you that there is an objective term for something, or that there is an objective standard to which you can hold a certain movie or film or whatever. I think if someone's doing that, they've got an ulterior motive that's largely about self-aggrandizement. I don't think they're really there to engage in a conversation or a discussion, because that's what these are. These are art, and they're subjective. And whilst I know we poke fun at people and call certain things the contrarians, X, Y, and Z, it's only because it blows against the prevailing wind, but it doesn't mean that it's not valid, because, you know, what you get out of something will be different to what someone else gets out of something. That's how this works. And I just genuinely think if someone sat there going like, you know, no, obviously this is much better than that, or no, like, then they've got an ulterior motive that isn't about talking about film. It's about them being right.
Yeah, it's, again,
which is boring.
Crap.
Yeah.
Being clever.
Yeah.
And, you know,
that said, Brad.
well, indeed, yeah. I did know Ken King in my day. We used to call them pictures, which is something because my mum and dad still say go to the pictures. You know, they go to pictures, and but also there's that old school Hollywood thing of like, we're making a picture, or the kind of
a flicker show.
A flicker show. We're telling pictures with light or whatever.
Photo play.
Your photo play, amazing. Love. Everybody gather around the Zoe trope. That's yeah, no, you know, I think there's a lot to be said. And again, I'm reading a book at the moment by someone who was very much from the era of calling them pictures, and they called them like talking pictures and stuff. And oh wait, hold on, what was the thing? I'm just gonna dig out something that I put on my Instagram, because I'm hope when I have a bit of free time, as a little project that I can do just on my own that would take a couple of days. I was going to do like a little video about all the cinemas, the bygone cinemas of Cambridge, because they're quite interesting if you like that kind of thing. It's a big niche. Some of them are still standing. There's one down in town that's still there, that stood empty, and I was doing a bit of research about that. Everyone's going like, oh, I'm not going to watch or listen to this. This sounds dreadful. Where is it? Yeah, Hobson Street. It's the old Central Cinema on Hobson Street, which used to be the Bingo Hall, and that was built in the rebuilt in the 1920s, and it's got a kind of Egyptian Art Deco architecture. It's really beautiful.
I've been in there. I think. Yeah.
Oh, really?
There's a really great one in Norwich that's out of the main town centre that of course became a Wetherspoons, but it still has all that amazing Art Deco. Like, they've kept it all intact, and it clearly was just derelict for years until Wetherspoons moved in there, and it's really cool. Like, it's a really cool. I don't know if it's still there.
I mean, Wetherspoons are kind of cunts, like, well, at least the guy who runs it, but they do preserve buildings. They do preserve
and cinemas in particular. You know, they moved into a lot of those, and so yeah.
Okay, so the first so that was originally called the Central Cinema. And in 1929, the first ever sound film to play in Cambridge was the Broadway Melody, and it was called an all-talkie. So, you know, not a partial sound thing, an all-talkie, the Broadway Melody. And the Central Cinema, I love how they advertise it, because I posted the poster for this on my Instagram. Metro Goldwyn Mayer's Miracle of the Talking Screen. What a lovely phrase. I really like that. Yeah, so there you go. There's some insanely atomized local knowledge. Now, you'd be interested in that if you're me, and statistically speaking, you aren't. So thanks for indulging me for the last 2.5 minutes.
No, it's all good, mate. No, I think a lot of times you have to do these things that you're passionate about and put them out there, and you know, and that's how things find audiences. That's how anyone makes anything, isn't it? It's like, I think if you just tried to make stuff that wasn't like that, I mean, isn't that what the internet's for anyway? Like, surely,
I think So that's.
So come on.
Oh, look, I was just going to do.
Yeah.
I was going to do a little documentary about forms of, because like I say, Halliwell's autobiographer. I got that because he used to run the cinema on Mill Road, which sat empty for 30 years, and I used to go past it on the bus. They demolished it and put up some boring flats. And the Sally Ann's shop on Mill Road used to be a cinema back in the day, but after that it was Cambridge's first ever self-service supermarket, because the concept of going to a supermarket and picking up your bite yourself was new. You used to go and get a man in a brown coat and give it to you from behind the counter. That sounded rude. But yeah, anyway, and that's been renovated. So
You'd back up to the counter.
and he'd thumb it in like the famous scene in
Just like Indiana Jones. And then the camera would pan up to reveal Venice for some reason.
You'd go in for some butter, some flour, and some unsimulated penetration.
Some butter, yeah, the butter would come in handy. In sort of Last Tango in Paris.
I was going to say, yeah, if you were Marlon Brando.
You always did his shopping in Cambridge. Now, no way.
Famously, always did his shit. There's a picture somewhere. There's a picture of Johnny Cash walking down the Mill Pond, Mill Lane to the Mill Pond. There's a picture where it says to Mill Lane. There's a picture of Johnny Cash, and there's one of Paul Newman on like not King's Parade, but like one of the streets around there, like King Street or something. It's a couple of weird, incongruous. The Beatles played at the Regal. That's now the Witherspoon's Regal. The Beatles played there.
Oh, right, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Local history bands, but mainly Marlon Brando bumming an unwilling anus with butter. A yielding but unwilling anus.
God.
Rob asks, has Duncan seen his digital likeness? No. Rob made you and me in digitalness on Twitter, which came up at the private watch party, and I forgot. So, Rob, if you've got a link there.
Is it on Twitter as in...
It is. It's buried, though. I don't know, because I don't really go on Twitter anymore, so I went on it just to find it.
I don't. I just went on... See, and as testament to that, I just went on Facebook. Right. Because that's how little I use my social media. Sorry, Rob. I didn't... Well, Rob, you have my email. But... something about Brie Larson. No, that's not relevant.
Yeah, I've when you don't go on Twitter, they start only updating you with like things that things that aren't relevant, like other people's recent tweets, and that's all. I've got 10 zillion notifications about that. I should say, actually, I meant to say, I was on the...
Oh no, I found it. Oh wow, okay, that's...
Digital Duncan. Greetings!
Beep boop.
Guys,
Hello.
do you think Richard is a robot?
Yes, he is.
Yes. Yeah, I did the Binge Movies podcast with Jason and Combat Jones ages ago, and it only just got released this week when we talked about we ranked the Rocky films. So if you Google Binge Movies, they were really fucking fun, dude. I told them to get in touch with you. They record months ahead, so we did it fucking ages ago because they've got quite a packed schedule, and I told them to get in touch with you, and I've got their emails and stuff. They were really funny guys. I think the humour we have is shared.
Nice.
So I had loads of fun doing the Rocky movie for those, and if you just Google Binge Movies, you will find it. And
okay.
Yeah, that goes for you, Arn, too. I think Ellie tweeted out the links on the Val Verde account and put it on the Facebook account. Facebook face account? I'm so tired. I'm just so tired.
That's really cool. Well, he's a bit more handsome than me, but I'll take it.
Take the Roberts. Oh, your bit rate has changed and you've gone small in the stream.
Ah, sorry.
Stop changing your bit rate. Well, I think that's what does that. It is weird. Where's my MDI source? I'm going to drag you up to big boy size. Oh no, yeah, and then as soon as I did it, it fucking snapped back, and now you're huge. For fuck's sake. For fuck's sake. People don't look behind the curtain, everybody.
You might see Richard's testes.
Yeah, just my testicles. Oh god. So I finished Chernobyl. That was.
Oh right, yeah, God, yeah.
That was.
I'm gonna have a little medicine before bed, so I hope you don't mind.
Right.
You carry on.
Oh yeah, no, I found Chernobyl. It's a story that I know a fair bit about anyway. I heard the show was really gripping. Gripping is the word. because you sort of know what's going to happen. Like, there's not going to be a season 2. So it's kind of this, like, well, they could, but it'd be very.
The reactor fights back.
Yes, the year is 2097. Don't you get it?
Bursts out of the sarcophagus.
Loads of velociraptors come out. Like, the reactor sentient. Yeah,
it's a fascinating thing, though, isn't it? It's an utterly just and of course nowadays on you've got urbexes going in there, and they really shouldn't, by the way. But
you can do officially sanctioned tours.
Yeah, Ben Fogle did it, didn't he? Recently, because we saw that there was a documentary of Ben Fogle taking it up the arse. What was that about? Wasn't there some
Ben
joke?
Ben Fogle being fisted. And I can't remember. That was very much a commentary being derailed by, which happened quite a lot.
What would that
I can't remember. It was something someone in the chat remember Ben Fogle getting fisted, and it kept being like, because I enjoy being like, it would be like, today we're in the Cotswolds.
Anyway,
I can't remember what it was. Someone in the chat remote, I think it was Justice League or something, or some long ass tedious thing.
Anyway, yes. No, Ben Fogle did a really interesting thing. We went around.
Rogue One commentary, says Chris.
And there's still people living there.
Yeah, they never fully cleared the zone. Yeah, there's still people living there. There's lots of wildlife there. They're still kind of surprised by the amount of greenery that's growing there. I mean, I always wanted to go since I was a teenager. I've always wanted to go, and now it's full of Instagram twats, and it's like, well, that's over, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, because you have to go to Kiev, and then you travel from Kiev to the zone, and your guide takes you around and stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
there's wild horses and stuff that roam, like in packs and all that. It's really nuts. Yeah, because it's such a massive area, and they found that there's that sort of giant anti-radar wall. That's part of the sort of missile detection system or something that's that the Soviets put up. That's now defunct. But
it's crazy. Yeah, it's like the whole thing. Because something that's in. Because over the years I've read and watched countless things about Pripyat and stuff. It's something that really fascinated me. Surprised me it took me so long to watch Chernobyl. Anyway, so obviously in the dramatization, you see the fire engines drive up. And the fire engines to this day are still some of the most dangerous things in the exclusion zone, because they got such a heavy dose of ionizing radiation so close to the reactor, and they're made of metal, which of course retains the radiation. So like, if you were to go and sit in one of those fire engines, it'd probably be a death sentence.
That guy. Well, they did on the Ben Fogle thing. There was one of those claws, the claws that had been used to clear like all the rubble and the graphite, and it was like it was just sat there, and they were fine outside it, but he took the Geiger counter or whatever and jammed it in the middle of in between the claws, and it just went nuts because it was like they were just so incredibly radioactive. That's the weird thing about it, though. You sort of assume that the zone is thick with, like, you couldn't breathe or whatever, and it's like when you see that people actually live there and everything, it's not that. It's just that like anything you touch could be deadly. Like, you just don't know. Like, if you went walking out in the woods, you wouldn't know.
Things that appear innocuous can be incredibly deadly. I mean, like, they do it in the kind of epilogue, but all the firemen's clothes in the hospital basement are insanely radioactive still.
They filled it in now. They filled that basement in with concrete or something, or sand, because people were going down there to find it because it was so.
Sake.
It's like, what are you doing, you morons? It's like all that.
Sake. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I love that part, because the guys the 90 seconds on the roof thing is something that I knew about. A lot of these things are things that I knew about in principle, but seeing them kind of enacted in a kind of dramatized sense was completely different. Because when they each get 90 seconds on the roof, you follow that one guy in the kind of, it's probably a fake unbroken take, but you follow that one guy in the unbroken take, and he keeps like tripping and stuff, and then he gets his foot caught. He gets his foot caught in the thing, and he takes it off with the shovel, and he runs back into the kind of the stairwell. He looks at his boot, and then he looks at the officer, and the officer says, all the officer says to him is, "You're done, comrade soldier." And it's the most ominous fucking thing.
Well, the guy who says that is Ian. That's my mate.
Well, that's
Ian
your pal,
Curry.
Isn't it? I was going to ask. Cause you said he sends.
He's the guy who sends them out on the. Yeah, he's the one going like, right, everyone. He's because you got a. Well, does he put on a Russian accent? I can't remember. Because people just don't bother with accents in that, really, do they?
Yeah, no, they kind of. It's kind of what I liked about that is because there are loads of regional, kind of essentially British regional accents in that. And the Soviet Union and Russia was so vast, and Ukraine's part of that, that there were loads of regional dialects and stuff. So people just having like, someone's got like a Sunderland accent, someone's London, someone's whatever. It kind of sense.
I mean, it has that unfortunate thing of having come out around the same sort of time as Death of Stalin, so it's sort of almost comedic at times. But it's like but no, because Ian's Scottish. I think he just has his accent, but
he was Scottish. He was. I watched it last night. Yeah, he was Scottish.
Oh, right. Right, yeah. So, but yeah, that bit's insane. Like where they literally had 90 seconds to run out on the roof and clear the because the robots because there was one German robot, wasn't there, that just like they literally put it on there and it just went.
They lied to them about the levels of radiation on the roof.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because there's the official state truth, and then there's
there's that whole thing about like kind of like what's it's 3.6 Rodkin. It's like, oh, that's nothing, and it's like, yeah, but that's where the meters stop. It's like, no, it's 3.6. Don't worry about it. And that got carried on and on and on and on and on and on. It's just like, oh my god, just stop. Martin Ritter was not like Martin's what he's called in Friday Night Dinner. Paul Ritter, the late great Paul Ritter. He was checking we're still on there. Yeah, I just got a little thing saying OBS disconnected, but I think we're fine. Yeah, Paul Ritter, he just plays that character as the most horribly obnoxious, officious arsehole. And everything about him is just dreadful. Just and just shows he was known to us as kind of lovable, dopey, absent-minded TV dad, but when he's kind of this kind of awful, officious communist, he's just horrible, like really horrible.
Well, I think Jared Harris is fantastic as well as the kind of.
Have you seen The Terror? Did we talk about that already?
Yeah, no, I haven't. But I think we talked about it.
He's because he's essentially the main character in The Terror, and he's fucking amazing. Like he's so good in The Terror, and that's another thing that's just The Terror, because The Terror is based on fact, but they, it becomes a horror story. Because it's about the HMS Terror, the missile, trying to chart the Northern Passage. It's Wing Kong Exchange just in time says, "Here's a $5 to stop scaring me with the Chernobyl stories." We'll talk about a terrible maritime disaster instead.
Fair enough.
Yeah, if you do, it's a lot longer. It's like 10 parts. It's produced by Ridley Scott. It came out about 2 or 3 years ago. I just got around to watching it. Jared Harris is in it. And the guy who plays the lead fireman that dies, he's essentially the villain in it. Because in Chernobyl, I just called him Mr. Hickey, because he's Mr. Hickey in Terror. But yeah, Jared Harris, man. Oh my God, the character that he plays in The Terror goes through this amazing journey, has so much emotional burden, has a drinking problem, has to make life or death decisions, much like his character in Chernobyl. I've watched 2 series in as many months with Jared Harris is in the lead, and he's just amazing in both of them.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I think as well, like the compelling thing about him and obviously he's playing a real life character, but the compelling thing about him as the audience surrogate for Chernobyl is because obviously he's the voice of reason, he's the voice of sanity and fact. And it's the point is to juxtapose him against a regime that is, or a country even, that is in the grips of true political correctness, if you want to. We bandy that term around now to mean don't say nasty things, but it's like actually it's a Maoist term. Chairman Mao came up with it. In other words, saying like when you putting a modifier in front of a supposed absolute is it's like there's what is politically true, which is scary when and that's when, because it wasn't the thing about those reactors, and they still work, like they're still, Chernobyl is still a power plant, it's still operating, but it wasn't the thing where the Soviet reactors had no shielding around the
there was no kind of enclosure building, and the main problem was that the rods used to cool down the reactor were tipped with graphite, which basically made them into detonators, which are all done as cost saving things. So Dan Lyles has just blown my mind with something that I didn't realise. Dan Lyles is full.
Again, Dan Lyles is a mind blower. Generally,
fact-flinging machine. This guy, something that has made me appreciate a thing I alone appreciate even more.
Oh no!
So what? I had no idea. So when
thanks, Dan.
Grown-up tramp future Will Robinson is fucking Jared Harris in like 1999. I never put that together. I just looked it up. At 100% is him. Holy shit! Well, Dan, and to answer your question, I liked him very much because that's just the best film ever made.
Because I just put the cherry on the Gerard Harris cake.
So and now what was once a simple cake is now a trifecta of perfection, Duncan, with its cherry, the sponge.
It frustrates
the
me no
icing.
end when dynasty actors are that good. You know,
Yeah,
he's obviously son of Richard Harris, but he is. You know, I have to give him credit where credit's
He plays
due.
Irish in The Terror.
Right. Okay.
Very, very well. Just good accent work. Yeah. I can't talk about The Terror enough. It's really great, really beautifully made.
It was really weird watching because obviously we watched, what was it, Patriot Games the other week, and it was like Richard Harris is in that doing a pretty naff Northern Irish accent, which is sort of, because I don't think he's not Northern Irish, is he?
No, I
he's
think he was Irish. Yeah, just Irish.
Yeah. But just Irish, as if that's one step below Northern Irish. You know what I mean?
Above. What am I saying? What
could
am I
be.
trying to say?
You never know.
Well, I know that kind of Irish people get quite annoyed with the Republic of Ireland. Southern Ireland is a no. Like there are a few things you don't say. So I'm saying just Irish, just the word Irish. I'm not
Irish. Yes.
I'm not fucking with it. Ain't nothing to fuck with.
I'd like to go back to Ireland, actually. In fact, I'm going to take Stephen up on his offer at some point.
Yes. Fuck to the fuck yes, absolutely. Well, I've never been to Northern Ireland. I've only been to Dublin.
Yeah, I've been to Dublin. Yeah, same.
Dublin's fucking beautiful, man. What a fuck! That's an amazing city. I thought it was so fucking beautiful.
Good crack.
Oh, Ben Haslam gives £10, and Ben's already on Patreon, as I know a lot of you super chat givers are. And he says, "I've not managed to catch one of these live for ages because life is a chaos. Cheers, gents. I hope you're all right, Ben. Take care of yourself." I'm sad. Yeah, you have been a bit quiet from the Ben Haslam front for a while, so I hope you're okay. And I hope you enjoy do enjoy this on playback. Champagne78 says Harris is from Limerick. So there you go.
There you go. Right, yeah.
Yeah, I love Dublin.
He has to say everything in those annoying rhymes.
it's the law.
That's where it comes from.
That's where it comes from.
There once was a man from Limerick who could not stop being a prick. I don't know.
He did a big poo. It was on his shoe, and then he did a big sick that barely works. But it doesn't.
It's late.
It's quite late, and I've been drinking, and Duncan's ill.
Have you been drinking?
Yeah.
That was on the slide. I didn't notice that.
No,
I just had
casually having a slow drink of vod.
Oh, very good. I haven't been. I had my warm lemon drink, and now I'm having a medicinal whiskey before bed. That's it. That's my lot. Because if I drink when I'm ill and I drink, I feel like shit.
Oh man, you don't want to do that. Fuck that. I mean, I think the little hot toddy or something on a cold is one thing, or indeed a turbo lemsip, but like sort of like getting on the Zambuca shots or whatever is not what you want.
Ill-advised.
Ill-advised. Very ill-advised. Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Should we get fit to wrap up? We could wrap up at 11. That's in 5 minutes.
That sounds good, man. That sounds good. What do you all? Let's see what people want to see for next week, because we sort of run out of ideas and frantically pull them out of our respective arses before putting them, of course, to Patreon, where people can vote to pick next week's watch party. This was a good one. I mean, I really enjoyed doing Indiana Jones. It's not actually, it's weirdly something we've never spoken about ever anywhere
not even
before.
Privately, I don't think. Oddly.
The odd thing, but like not. We've never
tangentially.
Certainly
never.
And you're probably usually in a discussion about what we're going to talk about this week, and then like Indiana Jones. I really like Indiana Jones, but no. This and like Back to the Future, basically, are the sort of. And I think, what was the other thing?
Someone, John Doe just said, did you just say Back to the Future? A lot of people say individual films, which is cool and great, but they need to be usually linked, or at least something, because I see Adam's Family Values coming up a lot, which I would love to speak about, but it's how to fit that into Adam's Family's coming up a hell of a lot, actually. So we did put Adam's Family. Did we put Adam's Family Values in the Sonnenfeld poll?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, I would love to talk about Adam's Family Values. So perhaps we'll find a way to put it into a poll, but it does go to front Patreon. Joe Zilla gives $5. Look out, radioactive Irishman. There you go.
Because it's all coming in thick and fast now.
I'll let you curate those, Amo. I'm gonna expel
All
some
right.
urine, and then.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I'll have a quick breeze through. Highlander, no. Conan, not into it. John Wick, maybe John Wick. Maybe John Wick's a good. I suppose we could put the three. Oh, and of course, Annalise, lest we forget, would love us to do John Wick. I think that was you, Annalise, wasn't it? You said that you'd like us to do that. I mean, maybe we could do another Keanu thing because we did Keanu before in Speed 1, I think. But we could do Keanu like with The Matrix and John Wick, and so that might be another goer. We could do that because there's a sort of best of the rest thing that we need to do. Because there's a lot of things that I think people would love us to do, but like kind of got put in with something else that was, so. Deep Rising is a good call. Simon Harding, yes. I need to look at that again, but yes. Lord of the Rings, Ken King. Do you know who we are? Lord of the Rings is so. Firstly, we'd be here for 50, 12 hours. And secondly, it's just, dude, like it's not in our wheelhouse at all. I mean, we could see maybe, but I'm thinking probably it would probably end up with Rich and I just sort of doing silly things, and then you'd get annoyed if you're into those films. That's the thing. We don't want to kind of piss people off who are really into them, and by being sort of belligerent arseholes like we were with the Highlander thing. Scorsese gangster movies, yeah. Again, I'd be up for that, but I don't think Richard would. Mission Impossible is a good shout. I love me a Mission Impossible film. Gotta say, Annalise says Adam's Family Values. Well, Annalise, would you rather see that or John Wick? Let me know. A lot of John Wicks. That's a good shout. Tomorrow Never Dies. Yes, of course. Tomorrow Never Dies. Excellent, great movie. What else? James Bond. A lot of James Bonds. Statham. That's a good shout. The Statham, Mission Impossible. I'm kind of up for a Mission Impossible thing. I'm a big fan of Mission Impossible. Lethal Weapon sequels, because of course we did Lethal Weapon. Yes, we could have a Joss Ackland week. That would.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey is a Joss Ackland movie.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a third one. Nope.
Nope. I did see. Someone said Dark Fate, and I know people, like a bunch of people have a shit fit when we do a Terminator movie, but then loads of people turn up.
That's the thing, isn't it? Well, we could maybe. A lot of people saying John Wick. A lot of people saying James Bond. A lot of people saying Mission Impossible, Highlander. But I think that's just to piss us off. Some people say there's like Lord of the Rings. I said no. No. I mean, like I said, like that would be 4 hours of us sitting there twiddling our thumbs and saying bum a lot.
Yeah. Because
we just don't understand those films at all. So I'm really sorry about that. But no, the Joe Pancake trilogy.
I see your cousin is suggesting a Neil Breen film. I see it. Duncan will never do it, but I see you. But if you go back, you can watch me and Ivan doing Double Down, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Neil Breen's a kind of Tommy Wiseau figure. Duncan, I don't think you'd. I really want to see Twisted Pair, but you would hate that. I can tell you that now. Adam's Family Values is coming up a heartening amount. Someone said, Chris Thompson said Ghostbusters. We did Ghostbusters already, Chris.
Yes.
So that's that. Well, there's a bit of inspiration there. No, are we feeling a bit better about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of maybe another Keanu week because we had a lot of like Matrix and John Wick and stuff like that. So maybe we could look at that, or just put those in, or something, or whatever.
I mean, you could have the kind of aging action man thing, couldn't you? Because it's like Taken and the original John Wick, and then there's a bunch of those. So,
yeah.
Just it's just an idea. Just an idea.
We could do that. I mean, I think actually that's a good shout. Maybe do a sort of like Old Mad Bastards week.
Old Mad Bastards.
It's Taken, John Wick, and what would be the third one? There's Russ. There's like Edge of Darkness that Mel Gibson did. That's quite a good film.
Well, there's because I know like Cusack did one, and Sean Penn did one, and Kevin Costner did one. I think Liam Neeson's got a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
On top of accusations of racism, but I mean, people have forgotten about that anyway. That seems to have just
yeah.
Oh, there was some talk of. I quite liked the Alan Ford one because there was. Oh God, what was it? Because you could have like. There's a Comedy vs Zombies, Snatch, Lockstock. I think there's another one. But yeah, I think Alan Ford, just for the miracle of Alan Ford, and you could put some Guy Ritchie in there.
Yeah.
Quite good.
Well, of course, The Smoke, which I am in as well.
Yeah.
As is Alan. So
Yeah.
There's
Alan is
Alan
is in that
Ford
with
crossover.
you, isn't he? He's co-starring with you. You're the bill.
That's it. It's our names on the market.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's but we have equally sized parts. I must have. We're not in it very much.
What a person with whom to have an equally sized part.
Fanar. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's some good ideas in there. I think a Statham one as well would be a good shout because we've not really done any Statham.
I'd be well up for curating some Stathams. Yeah.
The Meg has got to be in there. Sorry, Brad.
I say the Meg, Crank, and Transporter. There's I would put my foot down. Whatever happens, Crank has to be in there.
Okay.
Absolutely has to have Crank. Or you could have the one Ghosts of Mars and and an Erasure video. That's
be quite a short. Yeah.
Do you remember that time we reviewed Ghosts of Mars and I completely forgot and it sat on a hard drive for like 7 months? That just sums up Ghosts of Mars completely, doesn't it?
It does really.
What? It's a megalodon.
It's a Ghost of Mars. What?
Dominic Toretto.
Dominic Toretto.
He's been in so many things. Like, bear in mind that he's in the Fast and Furious franchise. He's in fucking everything, and he still has time to make those sort of half-assed action vehicles.
Yeah.
Like, what was the one he did with Jessica Alba? And it's like he's got to get her. He's got to save her because she's kidnapped. And he goes in a prison that's on an island, and it's like it doesn't. None of
this sounds like
it might as well be called like
film ever, but I've not heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like Run to Death or whatever, whatever.
I quite like the remake of The Mechanic. I quite like that.
That's good, and Mechanic 2, Electric Boogaloo, whatever it's called. That was quite good as well, actually. But yeah, and I quite like the Death Wish remake as well. I know you.
That was Bruce Willis.
No, sorry. Death Race. I'm thinking.
Do you know what? Actually, the remake of Death Race, as far as like a Richard Jackson Perfect Storm, has nothing going for it. Like, it's a Paul Anderson remake of one of my favourite movies, and I don't mind it at all. Actually, Statham and McShane, I don't mind it at all. It's all right. Like, it completely misses the point of the original film, but as its own standalone thing, yeah. And it's Statham as Frankenstein, taking over from. They gave David Carradine's got like a voice cameo in it, which is quite nice because he was the original Frankenstein, and Carradine was in Crank with Statham as well.
Oh, nice! Yes, of course.
But,
yeah.
I tell you, I've said this before. Like the movie Hummingbird is like a legitimately interesting, thoughtful movie with Statham. It's kind of like Taxi Driver. It's about a soldier that's come back from Afghanistan with PTSD, and he sort of lives homelessly on the streets of London, but then he sort of fakes out a life for himself in a slightly Cape Fear sort of way, but it's a legitimately really interesting film about modern London and PTSD and stuff. It's just like, wow, this is really got a lot going on.
Yeah,
more than I thought.
He has had an oddly prolific career, which would be interesting to sort of look at and talk about, given its origins and given that when you look at like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Hold on a ruddy minute, yeah, because then we can have Lock, Stock as a Statham film, obviously. Or Snatch, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. But for him to be the breakout star of those films, really, is quite weird.
That's what I was going to say, because it didn't really get... Because, you got Dexter Fletcher, who was already kind of a thing, but of him, Fleming and Nick Moran, like, you never would have called him as the breakout star. I mean, Nick Moran seemed like he would have for it, because I know he's had a career as a director and stuff, but you never would have called him.
Well, Jason Fleming was number one, like on the call sheet, on the he's credited first on Lock, Stock.
And he's had a really good career as well.
Yeah. No, he does well and all that. That's all good, but it is weird how Jason Statham sort of made that transition into sort of Hollywood to make sort of vaguely ridiculous action films that for some reason there's still an appetite for. It's like he sort of just took the sort of Arnie torch and ran with it, but yet for some reason we still want it. It's like him and The Rock really have carved out that niche for themselves that it's like we'll still go.
It's because he was he's an Olympic athlete, He also is kind of a martial artist, and the only thing you see in Lock, Stock and Snatch, the only thing I think you see of his athleticism is like in the kind of montage after they've stolen all the weed and the money. When it has a bit of drum and bass Swayze rollers in it, he does a flip in the montage, and that's it. And it's never suggested at any point whatsoever that he is kind of martial artist or an Olympic diver. Not that you would say that, but then for him to come out as kind of an action star, it's like, Jesus Christ, and this guy's got fucking chops as well. Look at the transporter.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck me. Like, look at this guy go. Jesus Christ. And again, it was like, of all the people in that, he's not the guy you would have thought that would be the breakout star, but there you go.
Yeah.
It's just bald people are the best. That's why.
Apparently so.
So fuck Harley out. Right, I'm going to wrap up. Yo.
Very good.
5
Yes.
So, thank you for your suggestions. I think I think what we've said will carry over to next week, and we'll enter into some discussions a bit on Patreon. So, yes, if you're not on Patreon, more exclusive content coming soon. I am going to show you how to do your taxes soon, which is going to be really fun. But people are asking, and there'll be a private watch party and a AMA stream as always, and any other private content we can fling your way on Patreon. So watch out for that if you are on.
I would do my best to be involved this month as well, because I kind of wasn't last
work
week.
and baby things. It's fine. That's what happens.
Yeah,
right, I'm going to cut to credits, which are recently updated. So those of you on Patreon should see your name up in a lads. We love you. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. It's been fun. It's been real.
Bye.